From Harry Hurley Way in the world's playground to the broadcast pioneers of Philadelphia Hall of Fame, you're about to find out why Harry Hurley has been named to the Talkers Magazine list of the 100 most important talk show hosts in the nation. Live from the studios of Town Square Media in Northfield, it's Hurley in the Morning on WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app.
It is 6 minutes past the hour, and yes, ladies and gentlemen, we have done it. We've done it again. It's TGIF. Woohoo! And yes, we're doing double duty. You'll find me later today. Somebody said the other day, why can't you say where you're going to be? Because it is a program that we do not carry on WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Now, if I am guest hosting the Brian Kilmeade Show, I can tell you that. If I'm guest hosting Fox Across America with Jimmy Fallon, I can tell you that. If I am guest hosting some of the other programs that we don't carry, I can't tell you, but you can find me. And do we have a guest lineup for the ages. It's going to be incredible. So find me if you care to. Well. We have a so-called American president. Remember, I've told you time and time again that everything that Joe Biden says, and his administration for that matter, everything they say is a lie, and the exact opposite is the truth. Joe Biden said that he would be the most transparent president in American history. So we told you that would mean the opposite, that he would not be. So think about this one. We have an American president who has avoided criminal prosecution because the special counsel said that he committed federal crimes. Remember, he had all these classified documents and such that he never had any authority to ever have them in the first place as senator or as vice president. And they're scattered all over the place. Delaware, here, there, everywhere. So he escapes prosecution because special counsel, and this is the Department of Justice. Follow along here. It's pretty rich what we're about to share. The Biden Department of Justice has said that Biden has committed crimes. However, he is too feeble and has too bad a memory to be criminally charged. Now, that's pretty scary because then how can you be president? I mean, what kind of scam is getting played on us here? Wait a minute. You can't be criminally charged because you're incompetent. You're mentally incompetent. But you can be president? How can both of these circumstances exist? So it's one thing to have the transcript, because what this White House does, did you know, and I've told you this before, in case you just haven't heard me mention this, that they literally change in the transcript. They fix Biden mistakes and they put out transcripts that don't have the mistakes in them. It's criminal what they do. Crooked as can be. And now we have Joe Biden asserting executive privilege. See, I love the way this is going. And I can't believe no one in the media has said what I'm about to say. This is Biden's Nixon tapes moment. Nixon wouldn't release the tapes. Congress went to the courts. The United States Supreme Court ordered the Nixon tapes to be turned over. And that's what's going to happen here. You see, they don't get to decide. Joe Biden doesn't get to decide. Merrick Garland doesn't get to decide that he can withhold something because he makes a determination that it's not a legitimate request. Joe Biden taking the position it would be used politically. Well, you don't have the right to do that. So bring it on. Get it to the courts fast, because before, and I say not just before November 5th, this has to be before early voting starts in September. So they'll do what they always do. They'll delay, they'll obfuscate, and they'll do their usual crooked self. And I do like that Congress is going to hold Merrick Garland in contempt of Congress. There will be a hearing to recommend that the full House refer Garland to the Department of Justice for the contempt charges. Now, they're crooked, they're corrupt, so right now nothing's going to happen, but he still will be found in contempt of Congress. So regardless of what they will or won't do, that doesn't matter. And then I really believe this. When the next administration comes in, you got to go back and get these people, every one of them, and criminally charge them, perp walk them, put them in leg irons, put them in handcuffs, do heavy-handed, grab them with all kinds of no-knock raids, and then you lock them up, just like they've been doing. No more will you ever hear me play the game. Oh, no, just that was them. And no, we can't do what they do. No. They've unleashed it. They have to live with it. What a disgusting, and listen, can you imagine how bad these audio tapes are? I just wish it was videotaped. The audio tapes are better than a transcript. And then you know what's going to be great? And I think this is another reason why they won't release the audio tapes. I believe the transcript that they put out won't match. I mean, a lot of it will. But I believe the transcript, the written transcript, will not match what's on the audio tapes. You know, they still say that Biden didn't say 4 more years, pause. They write that's inaudible. No, it's not. They lie. Everybody's heard that. It's not inaudible. This is these liars who lie about lying purposely doing this kind of thing. There was a Newsweek opinion piece by Josh Hammer titled, "Are Democrats Trying to Hide Joe Biden's Diminished Mental Faculties?" Let me tell you a little bit about what they conclude. Josh Hammer, who's a commentator and Newsweek senior editor at large, he absolutely comes to the conclusion that the Democrats are trying to hide Joe Biden's diminished mental faculties. Check out, we're going to keep moving on, but check out what he has to say about it because it's pretty compelling. President Trump on this topic accused Joe Biden of hypocrisy with executive privilege after refusing to release audio of his interview with special counsel Robert Hur. Biden asserted executive privilege over the audio. And by the way, Karine Jean-Pierre was questioned about this. And she said, well, the attorney general came to the president and asked for executive privilege. So it's who struck John? No, it wasn't me. It was Merrick Garland. Oh, no, it wasn't me. It was the president. Quote, crooked Joe Biden and his feeble administration have irretrievably politicized the key constitutional tenet of executive privilege, denying it to their political opponents while aggressively trying to use it to run political cover for crooked Joe. What a great spot-on comment. That's Trump campaign spokesman Stephen Chung. Biden's DOJ has denied former President Trump's claim of executive privilege in his court cases that involve classified documents and the seeking of investigations into the 2020 election integrity. So you see what's going on here? They assert executive privilege. They deny President Trump. This is how crooked they are. Oversight and accountability chair James Comer said Biden's refusal to release the audio indicated, quote, a 5-alarm fire at the White House. Clearly, President Biden and his advisors fear releasing the audio recordings of his interview because it will again reaffirm to the American people that President Biden's mental state is in decline. Much more on this when we come back. And Michael Cohen's horrific day yesterday. In case you didn't know, that case is over. Cohen got, I don't even think the defense is going to put a case on. And if I were them, I wouldn't. Look, if the jury nullifies it, they would have done it anyhow. So if Trump gets convicted, you can't, please don't say later, oh, they didn't even put a case on. They should have put Robert Costello on. They should have done this. They should have done that. You don't have to win the case again and again and again. They won the case. If the jury nullifies it, they would have nullified it no matter what case the defense puts on. They should put no case on and just say to the jury, they did not meet their burden of proof. There is no crime. The only witness, because Stormy Daniels was not a witness, the only witness, Michael Cohen, is a liar, and he was proven in this court to be a liar. And that's it. Just in your closing summation, and then send it to the jury. And again, if they already have their minds made up that evidence doesn't matter and all they want to do is convict Trump, then they would have done it under any circumstances. We'll be back.
The WPG Talk Radio app is everything South Jersey on your phone and in your car through Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Local news, weather, and information updated around the clock from New Jersey's largest radio news team. Easy access to WPG podcasts and more. Powered by Smokers Haven. You'll find the finest selection of cigars at any of their 5 locations. Stop in and let them help you find the perfect cigar to pair with your life. Visit smokershavennj.com.
Fox News commentary.
The climate cold is coming after your hot showers, to which I say over my cold dead body. I'm Tommy Lahren. More next.
You can host the best backyard barbecue when you find a professional on Angie to make your backyard the best around. Connect with skilled professionals to get all your home projects done well. Inside to outside. Repairs to renovations. Get started on the Angie app or visit Angie.com today. You can do this when you Angie that.
The climate mafia will stop at nothing to ruin our lives. They want your gas stoves, your gas-powered vehicles, your leaf blowers, your light bulbs, and now this, your hot showers. According to an article put out by the Washington Post, climate solutions writer Allison Chu, we should all start taking cold showers to save Mother Earth and reduce our energy footprint. She also argues we shouldn't pre-rinse dishes or use hot water in our washing machines. It would seem to me these climate cultists just want to strip us of all things effective and enjoyable in an effort to make us all miserable liberals like they appear to be. But thousands of readers have commented on the article and most are not positive. Plus, I highly doubt these climate overlords practice what they preach. Do they shower in cold? Do they ride bikes to work? Do they use composting toilets? Well, until then, they can pound sand with their expert guidance. I'm Tommy Lahren.
You're waking up with Hurley in the morning on South Jersey's talk station, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. You're listening to Hurley in the morning.
Egg Harbor Township. I'm from Margate.
Listen at home or in the office on your smart speaker. Just say, play WPG.
Brigantine. Cape May. Galloway.
Hurley in the morning on South Jersey's talk station, WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Hey, thank you. Welcome back, and thanks for listening to Hurley in the morning. Appreciate that very much. And we'll be taking your phone calls for the entire 7 o'clock hour, and then it will be Dateline Atlantic City. And, oh, my gosh, if you followed, I always tell you, check our digital platform throughout the day. The last thing I did last night was probably at about 8 o'clock, and the Atlantic City Board of Education corruptly did exactly what we knew they were capable of doing. Now, what I don't think they understand is the law of unintended consequences that's going to rebound right back. So we'll get to that a little later this morning. But on this topic of Biden and the executive privilege, hiding the audio tapes from the American people, quote, clearly President Biden and his advisors fear releasing the audio recordings of his interview because it will again reaffirm to the American people that President Biden's mental state is in decline. That's right from James Comer. Quote, the House Oversight Committee requires these recordings as part of our investigation of President Biden's mishandling of classified documents. The White House is asserting executive privilege over the recordings, but it has already waived privilege by releasing the transcript of the interview. Sidebar. Do you get it? You can't have it both ways. Their goose is cooked on this. They can only delay. They cannot stop what's going to happen here. Quote, today's Hail Mary from the White House changes nothing for our committee. The House Oversight Committee will move forward with its markup of a resolution and report recommending to the House of Representatives that Attorney General Garland be held in contempt of Congress for defying a lawful congressional subpoena. In other words, you're criminals. Surprise. Tom McClintock said, quote, he's a congressman, there are three standards of justice under the Biden administration, one for Donald Trump, one for the rest of us, and one for Democrats. Is that not spot on? That is so good. The transcript of the Hur, that's H-U-R, Robert Hur, interview, part of the special counsel's probe into the mishandling of classified documents, showed the 81-year-old Biden struggling to recall dates and confusing details. It's something they obviously want to keep from the American people. I'm going to go into the Michael Cohen thing when we come back, but there's not enough time right before the bottom of the hour break, so we'll pause right here. Back in just a few minutes. Reminder, wide open forum coming up for the whole 7 o'clock hour. Can't wait to take your phone calls about anything that's on your mind, local, county, state, national, whatever it is. And then we will go Dateline Atlantic City with Councilman George Tibbett for the second half of today's program. Let's make it a great TGIF on the Hurley in the Morning program.
This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
And this is Harry Hurley. I have 3 stories that you can follow on our WPG Talk Radio 95.5 app. The Atlantic City Board of Education does the unthinkable, but it was predictable, with the Atlantic City mayor's wife. You can read all about it. Steve Wynn left Atlantic City to build this property, and it will close forever. Check that out. And the criminally charged Atlantic City mayor and Take Your Child to Work Day. Chutzpah.
Good morning with your South Jersey weather forecast. I'm Joe Kelly. We're looking at a cloudy day across South Jersey for your Friday. High temperature expected to be about 69. Overnight tonight, clouds with a chance of a shower or two, a low 54. And then tomorrow, maybe some morning showers, otherwise mostly cloudy with a high of 62. As of right now, the outlook for Sunday, not too bad, mostly sunny with a high of 67. Next week, we'll be back into the 70s. That's your South Jersey weather forecast. Have a great day. I'm Joe.
Hurley in the Morning. WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app. Starting your day the right way with Hurley in the Morning.
Honesty and transparency, is not afraid to get down and dirty and really just tell me the truth.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Thank you. Welcome back. It is 36 minutes past the hour, so you don't always get this, but they did get it yesterday. They got a Perry Mason moment in the Michael Cohen trial. They got him. Again, it's over. I promise you it's over. The only thing I can't promise you is what will the verdict be, because I don't know the composition of this jury. If it's 12 Trump haters and they don't care about evidence, Trump is going to be found guilty. Again, this much I know. He'll ultimately be vindicated. I just don't know if he would be vindicated in time for the election. And again, this is what this all is about. This is all about messing. It's like messing with Sasquatch. They're just messing with Trump. Make him spend money. Make him lose time. Have witnesses come on and just say outrageous things that have nothing to do with the case. Not even say what the person is charged with. I mean, honestly, I wish most of America would follow this as closely as we do. Because I've almost never been outraged more by something in my life than seeing something that is so corrupt, so incredibly, inherently unfair as this. But they got Michael Cohen, and they got him good. I told you this guy, Todd Blanche, is excellent. And he did it. He got it done. They don't even need to put a case on. The prosecution's case, weak would be a upgrade. It is one of the most embarrassing, poor cases because there is no case. So how could it be a good case? There's no case. But what is going to be amazing, though, is normally in any other time, you would just know, well, it's impossible for the defendant to be found guilty. It's impossible. Michael Cohen was caught lying. They got him. His phone records, a 1 minute and 30-second conversation that he had. Oh, I talked about both things during that minute and 30 seconds. They got him. And the other thing that was very effective, he remembers things from 8 years ago with such incredible clarity But stuff more recent, he just doesn't remember. What do you call that? Selective memory? A true, and you rarely get it, a true Perry Mason moment. We could go on and on about that, but that's enough for now of that. Karl Rove said that the Biden reelection campaign is in trouble, and that is an understatement. Biden trails President Trump in 5 of 6 battleground states, tied in the 6th, and he's behind in even that one in multiple other polls. President Trump is on track to win over 300 electoral votes, but a minimum of 283. And when you look at the fact that Trump leads Biden in all these states that Biden won in 2020, Arizona, Nevada, Georgia, and elsewhere. Quote, the president, and he means Biden, has no chance of winning them or any other battleground until he confronts his serious problems. See, I love what Biden's doing. Biden is pretending that nothing is wrong, that everything is right, that everybody has plenty of money, that inflation was 9% when he came into office, when it was 1%. I'm going to start lying. It wasn't 1.4, it was 1%. Why don't I say it was 0%? Quote, he's behind in the polls not because his predecessor is outperforming his 2020 numbers, but he is, though. But because the president is way underperforming his, especially among Black, Hispanic, and young voters. Now, I know what Rove said there, and that would lead one to believe that Trump is not overperforming or outperforming 2020. He is outperforming 2020. He was at 8% with African-American voters. He's at 23%. I don't remember. I want to say he was like in the low 20s with Hispanic voters. He's now at like 45% with Hispanic voters. Rove wondered if Biden is simply putting on a brave face or simply in denial whenever he waves off his poor poll numbers. Oh, he was doing this national interview. It was terrible. And he said the polls are wrong. And he was trying to explain why the polls are wrong. Quote, hyping his accomplishments hasn't lifted Mr. Biden in the polls, nor has emphasizing Mr. Trump's threat to abortion rights or democracy. That's all they've got. Democrats, I want to point this out. It's very important. Democrats can never campaign on doing a good job. Obama was always blaming Bush and Republicans. Biden cannot campaign on his record. So they have to campaign that Trump wants to take your right to an abortion away. It's always wedge issues, divisive, accusing something that your opponent will do. Meanwhile, Trump can say, hey, vote for me. Inflation was 1%. Gasoline was $2.10 a gallon. Food was not up 30, 40%. We were net energy. We were able to export. I mean, think about it. Energy independent, net oil exporter, low prices, high wages, and America was working. Vote for me. hey, I'm Joe Biden, and Trump sucks, and Trump's a felon, and Trump will take your abortion away. Vote for me. I don't know about you. That doesn't really sound too good to me. We'll be back.
Hurley in the morning.
It's breaking news that I can trust.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5. WPG Talk Radio 95.5. You're waking up with Hurley in the morning.
Established, reputable.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Wow, this is flying by. Let me share this with you and show you what could have happened if something similar in New Jersey. I'm not saying that any one governor would have done exactly what Governor Abbott did. I know I would have done what Governor Abbott did. But in Texas, the pardon power is different. We've often remarked, and I've written a lot about it as well, that New Jersey has the most powerful governor's position in the country. It's extraordinary how powerful it is. You know, you look at all these other states, they have elected attorney generals and, you know, all these different separately elected people. In New Jersey, it's you elect a governor who picks their lieutenant governor, and they pick everything else. It's incredible how powerful it is. Texas Governor Greg Abbott, from the moment that a U.S. Army sergeant was convicted of murder. Now, this was a terrible conviction. There was an armed demonstrator back in 2020 during a nationwide Black Lives Matter protest event. And this former U.S. Army sergeant was convicted of murder. So obviously he lost his right to possess a firearm, and he lost his freedom. He was sentenced to 25 years. Now, just think, if this would have been in some whacked out blue state and have some horrific Democrat governor, say like a Gavin Newsom type, this guy would have spent a lot of the remainder of his life in jail. He's been in jail since his conviction in 2023. Well, good news. And this is what I'm getting at. In New Jersey, like, for example, and it was the absolute right thing to do. We called for it, and, you know, Governor Christie did the exact right thing. You had a Pennsylvania state trooper that was carrying their weapon in New Jersey. And she got criminally charged in New Jersey during a traffic stop. And she even said, let me get my weapon, my service weapon. And then she gets locked up. It's ridiculous. Totally ridiculous. And all that has to change. The right to carry should be with you no matter where you are in this country. So in Texas, Governor Abbott requested that the Texas Board of Pardons and Paroles review this case, and they have to decide if they'll review it, and they have to decide if they're going to recommend a pardon. Then and only then can the governor grant a full pardon, which he did. He did this minutes after the Texas Board of Pardons and Paroles disclosed that it had made a unanimous recommendation that Daniel Perry be pardoned and have his firearms rights restored. Can you imagine? This good man served our country. A former U.S. Army sergeant was in jail for probably more than a year. It's disgraceful. You might remember, you might not. It was really Fox News' Tucker Carlson. I want to point out, there are things that you can do in our business when you see something that is completely unacceptable and you refuse to accept it. I'm not a big fan of Greta Van Susteren, but she's done it. Tucker Carlson has done it. We have done it at the local and the state level, and we're working on something right now. I will not allow, without doing everything I can, I will not allow the Atlantic City Board of Education, because they are completely controlled by Marty and LaQuetta Small, to fail to do what should be done. You cannot have child abuse charges and just go to school like nothing's happened. You just can't do it. They are doing it, but it is only because of their corruption. You have a bunch of board members who have wives and children and husbands, whatever the immediate family member is based on the individual circumstance of each board member. You have a majority of the board that has conflicts, and they have the ability to have the Smalls hold tremendous power over them because their immediate family member is either a school employee or a city employee. And if you check my coverage out from last night on the digital platform, there's no surprise. We knew they were going to do it, and we told you they were going to do it. In other words, do nothing. But I don't see it ending this way. And if I have to cross the Rubicon with the state, then I'll cross the Rubicon with the state. Because if the state allows this to stand, I mean, then we're just talking about a level of political corruption that there's just nothing we can do until the next election. And that'll just be the way that it is. But there is so much power that resides in the New Jersey governor. I mean, for example, and we're going to make it very, very clear what's going on here. They already know. But if they allow that to stand, then we know exactly what's going on here. And I don't know how you ever discipline anyone ever again. In terms of keeping your position, I mean, look, if your criminal charge is something completely unrelated, you just say it's a judgment call. You could suspend the person because they have these criminal charges pending the resolution of them, or you say that, we believe in our chief school executive and we're not going to take that action. But when it involves child abuse, you cannot allow this. It opens up a level of liability, and you just can't have it. It's the reason why they suspended the principal the moment the criminal charges were filed. This is now over a month. So we'll be coming back to this in the second half of the program. But the state is going to have to step up. It's not even like nobody should have to even say these things. It should have just happened through natural process. But again, when you have Marty Small writing text messages, and it's in the article, the exact words, tonight at 6 o'clock at this address, they're going to be voting on whether to suspend my wife. I mean, I think it's up for Will Reynolds to decide, but I think that is tampering. Look, I understand you want to support your family member and all that, but when you hold a position of public trust, there's just certain things you shouldn't do. And that's, in my estimation, that's clearly one of them. I mean, what sense does it make? Think about this. What sense does it possibly make to allow a superintendent of public schools to remain active, employed with serious, multiple child abuse charges? How do you do that? I said once, how do these people sleep at night? They're disgusting. They're disgraceful. How do you sleep? But keep in mind, we said back a while ago, they have these children being sexually abused, and they don't change a single policy? They don't do anything? And in some cases, they re-victimize the children? Then you have the circumstance where they changed their policies and procedures, that the first person you report child abuse to is the principal, who then allegedly, and I say allegedly, I think it's pretty well established, didn't report it at all. Not only didn't it go first to the state Child Protective Services, it never went to the state.
WPGG Atlantic City, WENJ HD3 Millville, a Town Square media station. Everything you need to know in 6 minutes starts now.
Kelly.
From Harry Hurley Way and the world's playground to the Broadcast Pioneers of Philadelphia Hall of Fame, you're about to find out why Harry Hurley has been named to the Talkers Magazine list of the 100 most important talk show hosts in the nation. Live from the studios of Town Square Media in Northfield, it's Hurley in the Morning on WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app.
Thank you very much. It's 6 minutes past the hour. Let's make this count. We always do. Wide Open Forum begins right now. 609-407-1450. John Devlin, the immediate past president of the Atlantic City Board of Education. You're not going to want to miss him. He is going to spend the entire 8 o'clock hour with us, and Atlantic City Councilman at Large George Tibbett the entire 9 o'clock hour. Much to talk about. If you haven't followed the situation, remarkably, more than a month after being criminally charged with child abuse, LaQuetta Small still shows up to work. The two Smalls pretend Marty's got this picture that he puts on social media with like 20 little children all surrounding him. Hey, take your children to work day. Yeah, yippee with me. And this is just, I mean, it's fantasy. It's incredible. But this is what goes on when you have what they believe to be absolute power corrupting absolutely. You know, we've been through this so many times, and I always know how it's going to end. We just don't know the expiration date, but we know how it's going to end. They're whistling to the you know where, but we know exactly how it's going to turn out. 609-407-1450. Whatever you want to talk about, that's what's on the table. Welcome to Hurley in the Morning. Caller, you're on the air.
Mr. Hurley, good morning.
Good morning to you.
You know, I just wonder, the presidency, if they're doing irreparable harm, not just domestically, but internationally, as far as the office itself.
Well, I don't think the office is irreparably harmed. It's harmed for now. I mean, they're very corrupt. There's no question about that. On your other point, there is world damage that some of it could be irreparable. I mean, Trump is capable of turning a lot of this around very, very quickly. But what Biden has done with Afghanistan, with Russia, Ukraine, Hamas, Israel, I mean, he's done a lot of damage, a tremendous amount of damage.
He realizes he's going to be in the same chair next year
Oh, yeah.
that Trump's in right now.
Oh, I think you're right about that. I mean, Biden has great risk. Look, the Biden Justice Department has said that he committed federal crimes. The special counsel just determined, in his opinion, that Biden is a feeble, old, incoherent man without the mental faculties to stand trial. That's a bad position to be in.
Yeah, well, I still consider it a vie for the Academy Award.
Well, no, I'm going to disagree with that, and I'll tell you why. Biden doesn't acknowledge that. They have been trashing the special counsel for his finding. They've been lying, and they say, oh, we can't, like you and me, we can't keep up. Jacques Andy and Brigantine, he can't keep up. I'll tell you what, I don't know how he could do it, but Jacques Andy and Brigantine could never keep up with Joe Biden. He'd be on his 3 mile Constitution every day. No. He wouldn't be able to keep up. So this is the lie they tell us. People like Karine Jean-Pierre. Oh, you just don't see it. We can't keep up with him. It's unbelievable. I mean, the lies that they tell. So I guess if that's the acting you're talking about, then I take back what I said. And yes, it's award-winning caliber. But maybe not, though, because we all know, I guess good acting, you fool someone, they're not fooling anyone.
Exactly. Can I touch on one other thing?
Of course.
Right now, the county's having a hell of a time with the casinos collecting the debt.
Yeah.
How many people are there in Atlantic County?
Oh, good question. I don't know the number.
Oh, it's got to be 1 million plus something.
Well, you have 20. Let's put it this way. You have 23 municipalities. I don't think it's 1 million something, and I'll tell you why. Atlantic City is 40,000 people. You got places like Ventnor that might be like 7,000, 8,000, something like that. Margate's even a little bit less than that. Longport's tiny. Egg Harbor Township is big. I'm going to say it's in the hundreds of thousands range, but not in the millions, no.
Okay. I'm just wondering.
I'll get it, though. I'll get it.
Hundreds of thousands of bills from the citizens saying, you owe me a certain amount of money, which would be established by the county.
Right. For those who don't know, Denny Levinson had an agreement with Governor Chris Christie, and Governor Christie did what he always does. He breaks his word. He broke his word to public safety officers. He broke his word to Denny Levinson. And to Denny Levinson's credit, he has sued the state relentlessly. They win in every court that they appear, but the state keeps on appealing. So I believe ultimately Atlantic County is going to win that.
Except hopefully without lawyers the next time. Because every time they do that, that's another bill that's being paid.
Right, but you can't. That's true, but you can't do it without the lawyers because you're in a court of law.
Well, it would be a receiving end of getting a couple 100,000 bills in the mail. That would be interesting.
By the way, in 2022, the population of the county of Atlantic was 275,638.
Still a pile of mail.
Oh, no, there's no doubt about it. Well, they won, and they keep winning, and they keep having to win again and again and again. And they will. I mean, but then again, remember, this is a very corrupt state as well. I remember when Christy Whitman stole, they called it borrowed, but stole from the police pension fund, which was the most solvent pension fund in the world, and got away with it. It went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court basically said, don't do it again. Remember when my friend Robert Torricelli, he left the race for governor. He had taken certain gifts. It was like a big grandfather clock and some other things that they busted him about, and he didn't run. He got out of the race. It's clear as day at a point in time that the Democrats were not legally allowed to substitute the candidate, but the Supreme Court of New Jersey allowed Frank Lautenberg to become the nominee. He ran, he won, he reclaimed his seat that he had retired from. I mean, so I will never guarantee anything. I mean, look, this Laquetta Small is going to show up this morning at work. I've been told the big joke in the school system is she comes to work now more than before she was criminally charged.
Incredible.
I mean, this is the world we live in. So we know what's right, but there are people willing to do whatever the hell they want. And I just gave you a few examples of how it can go sideways.
Yeah, well, we're doing it right now with Social Security. Not us, but the federal government.
Right, that should be that's why no one should ever get prosecuted again for these things. Look how they go after some small person that made a mistake on a deduction and they drop the hammer on you. Meanwhile, they're robbing and leaving IOUs and doing all kinds of things that you shouldn't be able to do. They shouldn't be able to touch that.
Right. And then it's becoming insolvent. They still owe it $2 trillion, and they haven't paid a dime of interest on what they borrowed.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's it's fascinating.
Yeah, all good points, and I'm really glad you brought up that whole pilot thing because when you make a deal, you should honor the deal, and that has cost I forget how many, but that has cost the county of Atlantic millions of dollars. When the county ultimately wins that is going to be a beautiful windfall, and the county is in flush. Good shape because it is so well run that a lot of that should be not just thrown into surplus. A lot of that should be given back to the taxpayers of Atlantic County.
Well, that would be the fair.
Yeah, I agree.
But that's the way Levinson works anyway.
Yeah, I think he would. I don't know what his intentions are, but that's what I would do. I would keep some of it, for a rainy day. And remember, they've had to make some tough decisions because their assumptions, they used to have like 3 budgets going. One if they win and they get it, another one if they don't. I mean, it's not been easy, and yet they've continued to do a really good job. But hopefully one day, and maybe while Chitterelli is governor, they'll do the right thing there and keep the word that was given. And I don't accept the circumstances changed as an excuse for not doing what you said you were going to do. Great call, and I've got to get the break in. Have a wonderful weekend. I suspect that it's a great day in the city of Brigantine. Just a hunch.
Hurley in the morning.
They really do separate fact from fiction.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Turn up your radio. Here's the Sean Hannity Morning Minute.
Everyone keeps saying that it's like a scene from My Cousin Vinny. The defense starts asking Cohn about a series of calls he got, prank calls, in 2016. Now, why is this relevant? Because it's at the time that earlier in the week and then reaffirmed today that he says that he had this offensive conversation with Donald Trump about the Stormy Daniels issue. And Blanche then made the point that the call was too short. And Michael Cohen said, no, I talked to Schiller and then I also talked to Donald Trump about the Stormy thing. He did it all in 1 minute and 30 some odd seconds. I'm like, not possible.
Check out the Sean Hannity radio show later today, right here.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online at hims.com/joy. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation to determine the ED medication that's best for you. Discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and a range of treatment options, including trusted generic alternatives to the name brands, at up to 95% off. ED is personal, and at Hims, So is treating it. Just go to hims.com/joy and get connected to a licensed medical provider online for free with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit. HIMS.com/JOY.
Starting your day the right way with Hurley in the Morning on South Jersey's talk station, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. You're waking up with Hurley in the Morning.
Makes me think about things a little bit differently.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Hey, thank you. Welcome back. 23 minutes past the hour on the Hurley in the Morning program. John Devlin joining us in about 35 minutes. George Tibbett in the final hour of our broadcast week in the 9 o'clock hour. And don't miss either hour coming up, nor the open forum that continues right here, right now. After this next caller, we'll be close. We'll be at the bottom of the hour break. And after that, I'm going to share with you something. And it shows you, we often talk about how you never know what's going to happen. When I share a story with you, I can promise you that this number one ranked athlete never believed what was just going to happen to him. This wasn't good. And we'll get to it a little bit later this hour. Jacques Andy, welcome to the Hurley in the Morning program.
Good morning, Harry. It's a great day in the city of Brigantine.
I thought so.
I know the athlete you're talking about, and I know the story. It's great. The only thing that people have problem keeping up with Joe Biden is his changing his depends. It's all day. It's nonstop.
Well, that's why they say with Joe Biden it depends.
So I have a few little things to touch on, but first this small item.
Yeah, very small.
Okay, so we've seen the people that he surrounds himself with, both he and his wife, the people that have been chosen for certain positions. And everybody knows what's going on here. Probably they won't say it, but I go back to the words of John Street in Philadelphia.
Yes.
John Street was the second black mayor of Philadelphia, and he said in 2002, and I quote, these are his words, not mine, "Let me tell you, the brothers and sisters are running this city. Oh, yes, running it. Don't let nobody fool you. We are in charge of the city. We are in charge." And that's exactly what's happening right now.
Well, I'm going to ask George when he gets here because I would only be able to paraphrase it. But evidently, and I don't want to say who it was because I don't want to make a mistake and get it wrong, but it would be one of the usual suspects, basically said something along the lines that they're not going to allow 6 white men. And then evidently they said derogatory things about the 6 white men. I was one of them. I was described in a certain way. But one thing I know is he got named right, though. He will always be small. He got it. Sometimes things just work out. They go the way they're supposed to. The small mayor, that's a very just appropriate surname.
It's right out of Central Casting.
Yeah.
So, okay, on to the next topic. Joe Biden was called an old man with a poor memory. Yes. Basically, what they said that he was senile.
Right.
Okay.
They said no, absolutely true, and they said he committed crimes, but they couldn't prosecute him because of him having the poor memory.
Okay, so imagine.
And by the way, there is no law. There's no, there's nothing that would be legally allowed to be a justification to not charge.
Well, yeah, and they also say ignorance of the law is not an excuse or something like that.
Right, and you know how sometimes they say the person is, if someone is mentally ill, they cannot stand trial. what I refuse to accept is that Joe Biden is mentally unwell to be a defendant, but that somehow that does not cross into his ability to be the president of the United States. I won't accept that.
Well, I don't accept it either, Harry, but think about this. The man that you've said is senile, you've allowed to block evidence that would prove or disprove that he committed crimes from appearing in a court of law, right?
Yeah.
You give him that power to decide whether a piece of evidence, the audio tapes, you give him the power to decide that those things cannot be brought into the courtroom.
Right. And Andy, James Comer is very correct about something that's important for people to remember. And it is he forfeited any right to withhold that under executive privilege. You know, a president can always declare executive privilege, and then we have checks and balances. That can be challenged. And Nixon declared executive privilege on the Nixon tapes. And the Supreme Court, and that was the end. That was the end game. The Supreme Court said you have to turn them over. And then, of course, we know that some of it, you know, quote unquote, accidentally got erased. You know, they called it the heavy foot of the secretary or something. But, you know, I'll never believe that was an accident. Whatever it was, 13 minutes or whatever that got deleted. Biden turned over. Remember, full of transparency. We're Mr. Transparent here. So they turned over the transcript. Here's why I believe they have to hold the tape out. Number one, Biden is going to be disqualified by being so incoherent. And number two, the transcript, I believe, is fraudulent. I don't believe the transcript will match the actual audio.
Oh, I don't believe it either, Harry, because he says words that aren't even words. I feel sorry for the person who does the sign language when they have these debates.
Oh yeah, that person is got the toughest job in the world. The other thing they do is he clearly, for example, I used the example last hour. He clearly said 4 more years, only he said it very poorly because he can't even read anymore. So he says 4 more years, pause, because pause was on the teleprompter. What do you think they put in the transcript that day, though? They put 4 more years and then inaudible. Andy, unless you disagree with me, and I don't think you're going to, that was not inaudible. You could hear him say pause.
Harry, I heard that as clearly as if I was standing right next to the man. We all did.
Right, but they wrote in the official White House transcript, they wrote inaudible. So you know that they took great liberties in the transcript that they released.
Well, I'll give you another quote then from Barack Obama. The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
Yes, and he does.
Yeah. So I'll tell you who is a rock star, Harry. I love this guy, is this Bob Costello.
Oh, he's absolutely. By the way, I'm curious about this because I have made up my mind on it. Do you think the defense should call him as a witness?
Boy, that's tough, Harry. You know, Jonathan Turley says yesterday, he was asked about this. He said, you know, I'm not a risk taker. I'm adverse to risk. And the fact that they haven't proven the case, you know, as soon as you put somebody else on that, you don't know what they're going to hit him with to try to, you know, mess with him. It's tough, but I'll tell you what, though, it would be great theater.
It would be. But I'm going to say no for the reasons that you just said. And I would add to it, they've already won the case. You don't have to keep winning the case. It's over. If the jury nullifies that, then there's no witness, there's nothing you could put on that would change that anyhow. So I say the defense should not even put a case on. They end it with the redirect of Cohen and the closing summations, and the defense rests. They say that's it. We win, and then give it to the jury.
Harry, what's the piece of advice they always give people when they're going to be seated, not on a jury, like when they're going to testify? They tell you only answer the question asked. If it's a yes or no, say yes or no. Don't add to it. Don't expound.
Correct.
So by putting Bob, like you said, they've already won the case. It's a non-case, actually. Yeah. But they've already won. When you put Bob Costello on, it's almost like you're extrapolating now. You're adding to it.
And what it does, Andy, this is my opinion about this. I'm very, very strongly feel this way. The witnesses that the prosecution put on were a disaster. Let it be that way. Don't give them a witness that they can then do cross-examination and bring the prosecution back into the game.
Harry, you're in radio. I was in radio. We're in the advertising business. We know about advertising. There's a reason that everybody wants to be the first commercial in a stop set, because people remember the first thing they heard. People remember the last thing they heard. Magazines, the front inside cover and the back inside cover are the most expensive places to advertise in a magazine, because it's the first thing people see and the last thing people see. So let Michael Cohen be the last thing people hear. And that's what's good. And from what was reported yesterday, that the 12 jurists were sitting there with their mouths agape, with their heads wagging. They just couldn't believe what they were hearing.
How dishonest he was.
Yeah, I'll tell you what I think went down, and just listening to some of the experts. And so this Michael Cohen was basically just enthralled by the idea of a Donald Trump, because he knew he could never be a Donald Trump. But he was a sycophant. He wanted to be part of that circle and part of that whole, just attach himself to all of that.
And he really could not accept that President Trump did not bring him to the White House.
Exactly. I believe that he himself took it upon himself to pay Stormy if this in fact happened, because he thought that would ingratiate him to President Trump, and that he would forever, be in his inner circle.
I believe that, and Costello has testified to that and under oath before Congress. Andy, good stuff. Got to run. It's 5 minutes past the bottom of the hour break. Until we meet again, have a great weekend. You will be next. Don't go away, please. You're the next caller on the Hurley in the Morning program right after this.
This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
Thank you, Harry Hurley, with 3 stories that you can follow right now on the WPG Talk Radio 95.5 app. Well, it is a See I Told You So moment. Yes, the Atlantic City Board of Education does the unthinkable with the Atlantic City mayor's wife. They think they're so cute. Wait till they see how it's all going to turn out. Steve Wynn left Atlantic City to build this facility that we write about that will now close forever, and the criminally charged mayor of Atlantic City, and take your child to work.
Good morning. With your South Jersey weather forecast, I'm Joe Kelly. We're looking at mostly cloudy day across South Jersey today. High temperature about 69. Overnight tonight, clouds, maybe a shower or two, low 54. Now tomorrow we could start out with some scattered shower action, then mostly cloudy. Tomorrow's high 62. As of right now, the outlook for Sunday looks pretty good. Mostly sunny with a high of 67. And the extended picture, it looks like we're going to be back in the 70s each and every day next week. That's your South Jersey weather forecast. I'm Joe.
You're waking up with Hurley in the Morning on South Jersey's talk station, WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio. You're waking up with Hurley in the Morning.
Egg Harbor Township, Ocean City, Goshen, Cape May.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app.
Thank you. It's 41 minutes past the hour. John Devlin joining us for the 8 o'clock hour. Atlantic City Councilman at Large George Tibbett for today's 9 o'clock hour. And you'll hear from the immediate past president of the Atlantic City Board of Education, his thoughts on what the Atlantic City Board of Education did last night. So incredibly reckless. Imagine you hire, they didn't even need to hire. They knew what they were required to do. So they hire an expert an attorney. The attorney tells them you have to suspend Laquetta Small. And what do? They come out of executive session and they don't do it. The exposure now, and they don't care. That's what you have to understand. You care. They don't care. This is like some game for them. Yeah, we know that anybody else, but not us, anybody else would be suspended. You see, when you're charged criminally with child abuse, you're not allowed to be around the children. That's almost one of nature's laws, if you will. Welcome to Early in the Morning. You're on the air.
Hi, good morning, Harry. Thanks for taking my phone call.
My pleasure.
Just 3 quick points. So, the first one was with the that video that, Biden put out about accepting the debate. Mm-hmm. I guess Joe didn't notice that there was 15 jump cuts in that video when he accepted the debate. He was too busy talking to Mika Brzezinski, I guess. But it made me laugh. It probably took about 2 weeks to do that video. You know what I'm saying, Harry?
Yes, and I thought it was 8. You said 15 for such a short video. But this is literally, and I think at some point, see if you agree with this, I think at some point it's going to get so bad that they're going to do AI and they're going to fake like it's him.
Oh, I agree. I think they're definitely going there because...
Have you ever seen those videos where they make people say different things and it matches perfectly with the lips? You can do that. It's not hard.
Well, that's the big concern about the nuclear war, that they could do AI or get or United States saying, oh, well, they're getting ready to launch a nuclear weapon and not really happening, but AI gets involved and all of a sudden you got a problem. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
And then, my second point is, with that, to me, this is my opinion. I'm just saying for me personally, that kicker for the Chiefs to me is a hero because, I don't agree with everything he said, but most of the points he made were solid points, like about taking on the nuclear family, about a mother and a wife, and that's a great thing, having kids. He was definitely pro-life. I think that's great. He took on the LGBT, which is also great. And he said, look, I'm proud to be a man, and we should all be proud to be men and be our masculinity and not be afraid of it. So, there's nothing wrong with that. All he was saying was he was being proud of having a family, having a wife who's a mother, and having kids. There's nothing wrong with that. So it's like at the end of the day, I don't see what he said was so bad. And I think Andy Reid is probably laughing when they're saying they want to cut him because he ain't cutting that guy. That guy had the longest field goal in the history of the Super Bowl.
And not only the longest field goal, he's so reliable. By the way, it's amazing what the tolerance that these cancel crowd people have for, horrible people and horrible comments. Like the pro-Hamas people. That's called free speech when you do death to Israel and death to America and all that's protected. And, we should have great sensitivity about that and understanding. It's just someone's opinion. Crazy stuff. But here's this guy talking about basically God, marriage. He got very emotional at one point. But you know what he did? He said certain things like homemaker. And that sends like the Joy Behar crowd and all the loons absolutely just bananas for them.
Right. And that's exactly what you're just saying. If you spat out pro-Hamas, you're a hero. If you say pro-life or pro-family, all of a sudden, oh, what is he doing? You can't do that. What are you doing?
Isn't it crazy? Everything is backwards.
It is backwards. And at the end of the day, I think he's a great guy. And I don't think he meant any ill intention. He also got a standing ovation, if you remember, too. So they all stood up and gave him a standing ovation. So
hey, look, he knew his audience. He knows what he believes. He shared his philosophy, and he believes in traditional marriage. And he brought up some things that with the radical crowd, like the AOC crowd and all them, it's not compatible with them. And it drives them and really brings out the worst in them.
Right, because he was composed, he nailed it. And the other thing that makes me laugh, too, is all these women that were all hating him and everything, like Maria Shriver, Hoda, Jenna Bush, all that crap, they're so entitled, and they're like, oh, he really put us down. He didn't put anybody down. He's just saying this is the way I believe it should be. He's not putting you down. He's just giving his opinion. Nothing wrong with that.
I mean, he was sharing his family and what works, for him and his family. And he wasn't telling anybody else that you can't have a full-time job or whatever. He was saying that in our example, this is how we do it.
Right, and they're worried about this little speech over here at this Catholic college when you got bigger things happening in the world, like Zelensky visiting these soldiers that are no arms, no legs, injured in the hospital, fighting for their very survival, and you got Israel fighting for their survival against Hamas. And this is what we're worried about? Really? A guy giving a good speech like that? It just makes you think, like, these people don't have any clue, Harry, what's important in the world, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
And my third thing is about that doc. I know that floating doc is well-intended, and I give him credit for trying to do this. Here's the problem. I give it a month before the Houthi rebels or one of those factions from Iran takes it out. Unless we're actually guarding it with our military, I don't see it standing. And number two is, it's been proven that all those supplies that are coming over, Harry, they're going to get right to the Hamas anyway. They're not going to the Palestinians.
Oh, we know
they're
that.
They're going to take that food supplies. It's never going to reach who it's supposed to go to. That's the problem.
That's right. They take control. Anything you send, and Biden knows that. The bridge he built, they built that for Hamas. The food that goes there, it goes to Hamas. Aid that goes, it goes to Hamas. He knows that, and he does it anyhow.
That's all I have. I know you have more calls.
Right,
I just want to get those points in.
Good job. See ya. Good stuff. Yep, you know it. Back in a moment, if you want to jump in, 609-407-1450, an open phone line. Harry Hurley for Batteries Plus in Northfield, and they have a store in Mount Laurel as well. And we haven't been in the Mount Laurel store yet, but I know the area very, very well because for over 25 years, we did television in that exact area. I know exactly where they are. And they're one of our WPG industry aces. So if you have a car, truck, marine, RV, camper, golf cart, ATV, mobility scooter, or motorcycle, and you need a battery, they've got it. Getting ready for the storm season? If you need LED, emergency lighting, a portable generator, or surge protector, Batteries Plus has them. Broken phone or tablet screen, they can fix it. If your cell phone battery needs replacement, they do it right while you wait. Watch and key fob batteries, get a replacement while you wait. If it's broken, you bring it in, and we'll fix it. Inside Batteries Plus, from cracked screens to battery replacements, the charge ports, speakers, microphones, pretty much anything inside a phone, they can fix it. Batteries Plus, and we fix it. 900 Hilton Road in Northfield and Route 73 in Mount Laurel. Step into one of the stores, stop by, and enter to win a pair of tickets to see Journey and Def Leppard. We'll be back right after this, and you can jump in. Phone lines are open first time this hour, clear, at 609-407-1450. Next one in, next one up. John Devlin coming up in 15 minutes. Councilman George Tibbett from Atlantic City in today's 9 o'clock hour. As the Hurley in the Morning program continues.
Mark Levin.
Biden, the international arsonist. The Communist Chinese want Biden reelected. Putin wants Biden reelected despite all the Democrat Party's best twisting and turning and pushing and pulling. The Islamo-Nazi regime in Iran never had it so good. They're getting billions and billions, rearmed themselves. They've destroyed all opposition among the people in Iran who want nothing to do with that government. They love Joe Biden.
Mark Levin on South Jersey's talk station. WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Listen at home or in the office on your smart speaker. Just say, play WPG. Starting your day the right way with Hurley in the Morning.
We need to just listen to the facts.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
We've been telling you for the longest time that you're going to continue to see things you've never seen before, like this fake Trump trial stuff. And there'll be more. We don't know what they are yet, but there'll be new things that we've never seen before because they have such a damaged candidate that they cannot just allow there to be an election based on, hey, how did the last guy do? And how is the current guy doing? And okay, let's go vote. They can't let it be that. So they have to do all these other things, such as reclassifying marijuana as a less dangerous drug. This paying the school loans, you're paying for other people's school loans. I mean, it's just terrible. But that's what happens when you put bad people. It's in Atlantic City, give bad people power, you're going to get bad things like we see now. Put bad people in here, you get bad things. I mean, put good people in, you get good things. I mean, it's just the way that it is. It's very simple. There's nothing mysterious about it. So the Biden administration is racing to reclassify marijuana as a less dangerous drug. You know, it is when you look at it, and a lot of people have done it, and a lot of people get away with doing it and all of this. Other people have had, bad things happen if they get caught. But this is a historic shift. It's been generations of a drug policy. So why they're racing is they have to put this in the public record for like 60 days, and the public has an opportunity to comment. And I'm sure a lot of people will comment that they like this, and some people will comment that they don't like this, and then ultimately they will have the Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, and then you'll have all the other departments that are involved, such as the Department of Health and Human Services and all of that. And they launch a review, and then they'll approve it. So the proposed rule was sent to the Federal Register. It recognizes the medical uses of cannabis. It acknowledges that it has less potential for abuse than some of the nation's most dangerous drugs. The plan is approved by Attorney General Merrick Garland. Of course it is. Now, they say it would not legalize marijuana outright for recreational use, but it certainly does take it off of the classification schedule. It was a Schedule 1 drug that is looked upon just the same as heroin or LSD or anything like that. It will instead be a Schedule 3 drug that will put it in the realm of anabolic steroids. So that's what you get. And Biden is trying to cobble the most unique sort of patch quilt electorate in American history. The pro-Hamas wing. I'll tell you what, if this is what you have to do to have any chance to win, and anybody will tell you, Biden has a very narrow path. President Trump has a very wide path. In other words, there's a lot of ways that Trump can win. There's very few ways that Biden can win. And that's why you see him begging for debates when you know he doesn't want to. It's going to be, and this is why he picked the rules. He picks the people, the moderators. And they're going to try to, Dick Morris was talking about it, they're going to try to stack it, but it doesn't matter. You know, you can walk into the lion's den and eat the lion, and that's what Trump is going to do. But this is why he has the pro-Hamas wing of his party that he has to appease. He wants to do this, and then with the student loans, he's trying to get the younger vote back. It's all a game. John Devlin is next.
WPGG Atlantic City, WENJ HD3 Millville, a Town Square media station. Everything you need to know in 6 minutes.
I'm Joe Kelly.
From Harry Hurley Way and the world's playground to the broadcast pioneers of Philadelphia Hall of Fame, you're about to find out why Harry Hurley has been named to the Talkers Magazine list of the 100 most important talk show hosts in the nation. Live from the studios of Town Square Media in Northfield, it's Hurley in the Morning on WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app.
Hey, thank you very much. Welcome back. It's 5 minutes past the hour in real time last night. And that's why we tell you all the time, check the digital platform of WPG Talk Radio 95.5 if you use the app, which I encourage you to do because that's the only way you have access to the podcast is on the app. But you can, from any digital device, you can go to WPGTalkRadio.com and then you can read the digital content as well. But you do not have access to the podcast from the website. But in real time, we reported from our Believe It or Not department. But we believe it because we told you so. Because when you have the wrong people and you give them power, you can expect that they're going to do the wrong thing, particularly when the very people that they should be disciplining have such power over them. So it's a terrible situation. I am involving, I'll say this for the first time right now. I've been holding this until now. I will be involving Governor Murphy this morning. I have something that I have to attend to right after the show, but right after that, I will be directly contacting Governor Murphy because this cannot be allowed to stand. You just can't have child abuse criminal charges and remain working with the children. You can't have it. It's just one of those things where, look, we've been very clear about this. The presumption of innocence is understood and agreed upon and all of that. But when you're dealing with children in the school setting, that's why they immediately suspended Constance Days Chapman. And because Marty Small and LaQuetta Small have power over board members, and that's why I want to see, and it's something I'm going to be proposing, and I'm going to be extremely vocal about it. I want to see reform in the Board of Education position. You just can't have it. And look, I know Atlantic City is not the only one, but they're the really the worst offender, I think. You just can't have it that the majority of the Atlantic City Board of Education can't even vote on the budget, can't vote on superintendent issues. Oh, let's have an emergency meeting where we will invoke the doctrine of necessity, which lets us vote when we otherwise legally wouldn't be allowed to. No, that's no way to run anything. Now, let's put it this way. If there was a board of dispassionate people, because this isn't about getting anyone, the alleged crime is child abuse. You can't be a teacher with that right now. You can't be a principal or assistant principal, superintendent. It just doesn't work. It's not appropriate. So if you had a board of 9 dispassionate people who didn't have spouses and children with their jobs depending on the accused, then a month ago, more than a month ago, just like with Days Chapman, the superintendent would have been suspended pending the resolution of the criminal charges. That's the way it works. I did the job. And if anything like that ever came across our paths, that's the way it would be handled. It wouldn't matter. You know, justice in this regard and the way you would handle it is blind. It doesn't matter who it is. This isn't something I say because it's LaQuetta Small, who I don't think should have had the job to begin with. It has to do with the crime. John Devlin is the immediate past president of the Atlantic City Board of Education. So you're not surprised. I'm not surprised. We actually spoke before the board met last night, and we both predicted exactly what they were going to do, which is nothing. But it's unacceptable what they have done, John.
Good morning, Harry. Good morning to your listeners. I just want to start by saying I think what we have here is a horrific case of nepotism and unethical nepotism. Let's go back to Kashawn Frazier, who worked for the now superintendent, LaQuetta Smalls. That was never disclosed. And continue on now, you have board members that are voting on items that they should not be voting on, including, let's go to the top of the ticket. You got Shea Steele, works for the city of Atlantic City. Harry, his boss is Marty Smalls. Keep going. Father works for this district. His wife works for this district. Keep going. Kashawn McKinley, his wife works for the district. His mother-in-law works for the district. By the way, that was not disclosed on that memoranda that was given out the other day at the board meeting. I mean, the nepotism here.
Right. They even lied about that. They put some of the conflicts, but not all of the conflicts.
Right, Harry. And this is what you have to consider as well, okay? You have employees for the city. The appointing authority is Marty Smalls, the mayor of Atlantic City. That's the way the law is, okay? That's the law of the land. Now you have the same city employees voting on his wife, his best friend, his roommate, on matters that they should exclude themselves from just for ethical reasons alone.
Here's something else he did too, and we have a copy of the text message. He sent a text message out to whatever distribution of his choosing, and it said, quote, "They," and that would be the Board of Education, "they are voting 6 p.m. tonight to decide if my wife will get suspended. The meeting is at the Board of Education, 1300 Atlantic Avenue, on the 6th floor." Now, that's the chief executive officer, if you will, of the city putting his thumb on the scale.
The Atlantic City Board of Education and the city of Atlantic City are grossly infected by nepotism and unethical behavior in the part of Marty Smalls, his company, Shea Steel, his company. The list goes on here, Harry. We have direct relatives of board members that are directly affected by what goes on at these meetings. Listen, if any of these, I want to say it the nice way, any of these board members get some guts. I wanted to say something else, but I'll save it. Gets guts and stands up and does the right thing. Forget about being friendly. Forget about personal. Do the right thing and step aside from the puppet master, Marty Smalls. You'd have an ethical board and you can move forward on some things. Listen, Harry, how about what's going on with board business right now? You've had 2 or 3 special meetings. They talk about who knows what. They come out and vote on nothing. What happens to the day-to-day operations of the Atlantic City Board of Education? Because the Board of Education, they're not voting on anything. It's the same. Like everything's on hold to try to defend a superintendent that's been charged criminally.
Yeah. By the way, I want to ask you a question. Maybe you as a police officer, retired, knows the answer to this. I think I know the answer, but I'm not 100% sure. You have both the mayor and you have the superintendent of public schools charged with very serious child abuse charges. If you are charged criminally with child abuse, are you allowed to walk in schools? Are you allowed to do the things that these two people are doing?
Harry, it's a 2-part question. One part is, if you're charged with a crime, okay, and look, Atlantic City is not that much different than other districts. If you're charged with a crime, you're suspended with pay or without pay. That's at the discretion of the Board of Education. That's a done deal. That's always been the way. I've never seen any other way, and I spent over 20 years on that board, okay? With that being said, you now have an administrator from the city who walks around in the schools like as if he owns them. Harry, when I was president of the board, 20 years plus, I had a background as a police officer. So, I had a little bit of authority. I would always, if I went to the high school, I would always check in at the office, sign in at the office, say hello to the administrator, say hello to the secretaries, and get an escort anywhere I went in the school. That's just what I did. Okay.
And you were the president of the board. John, hold it right there. Let me get the break in because I know it's going to take a little bit of time, and the time is yours when we come back. And it's a very important part of the article because my understanding is that he just goes into schools. And I also have been told that some of this may be under criminal investigation because of the prior charges with respect to Marty Small going to one of the schools, we've been told. So we'll see what, if anything, comes of any of that. But I totally agree with you. Even though you were the president of the Board of Education, you go to the Central District office, you report in, you sign in, because the sanctity of a school and particularly in these days where bad things can happen, who you let in. Like, for example, and I write it in the piece that I filed last night in real time when the Board of Education was behaving so unprofessionally and badly when they didn't do their job. Marty Small should not be allowed in any public school until these criminal child abuse charges are resolved. LaQuetta Small should not be able to be the active superintendent. They suspend her with pay. That's within the board's authority. I also want to get into, John, they hired an expert. There's such a track record of this. Whether it was the superintendent search, short-circuited, and other examples, John, that you and I have both spoken about and written about, where they go and they pay an expert. The expert tells them you have to suspend the superintendent, and then they don't do it. So now the taxpayers pay for that, and then they don't take the advice of the expert. So we have a lot to unpack when we come back with John Devlin. This is
Hurley in the Morning.
Harry Hurley is the only person on the radio who isn't afraid to speak the truth about what's really happening in Atlantic City.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5. You're waking up with Hurley in the Morning. WPG Talk Radio 95.5. You're waking up with Hurley in the Morning.
I'm looking for trustworthy news.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Hey, John, if you would, and those just joining the program, John Devlin, the immediate past president of the Atlantic City Board of Education, someone who for more than 20 years always did it the right way, protected the district, protected the students, did right by the staff, never had an agenda, never wanted to create his own employment agency for friends and family, did it the right way. So you can see why the small gang got rid of him. So, John, talk about, I can think of 3 examples right off the top of my head where the Board of Education fakes like they're doing something. They go and they get an expert. They pay the expert, we hope, but they set the established rate for the expert. In some cases, they didn't pay their experts, come to think of it. But nonetheless, they act like they're going through a professional process. And then, like last night, they come out and they do not take the recommendation of the expert.
Harry, I think, their failure to disclose information going back to the Frazier matter has put the Atlantic City Board of Education in this predicament. They failed to disclose that LaQuetta Small's nephew worked for her. They failed to disclose that on an ethics form. They failed to disclose that there was child abuse and that a former employee was charged by the FBI in a child molestation video. Now they're failing right now. They're failing us by not disclosing everybody that you are related to at the Board of Education. Okay, we just named a few. Okay, we start digging, we find more. The failure to communicate and be transparent is something I screamed about for the last 5 years under Caldwell and beyond. They don't want you, JP taxpayer, knowing what's going on in their district. Unfortunately, things happen. Unfortunately, we have violence in schools. I'm not saying we're the only one. I'm not pointing or centering Atlantic City District out. However, we have to be transparent, not only to the children and the parents, but to the taxpayers and the general public. That's just the way life is. Their failure to disclose, their failure to listen to professionals. Let's go back to Dr. McCartney, who was the independent resource that we brought in to find a superintendent, to do independent superintendent search. They paid him, took his information, threw it out. Shea Steele, who was conflicted 20 times over, handpicked who he wanted on the committee to pick the superintendent. And now look, Harry, fast forward a couple of years. Look at the product we have. Look at the product the students of Atlantic City have. Look at the product the taxpayers of Atlantic City have. All because we couldn't follow ethics rules. And when conflicted people vote with their conscience and vote with their personalities and vote for friendships, this is the product we get.
Yeah, let me share something, John. Breaking news, and I'm always full disclosure. I received this from a very, very good source within Atlantic City. I can't say I'm disappointed, but because I did their job for them, Ventnor didn't say anything for a month. Brigantine is scared of its own shadow. They haven't said anything for a month. Margate has said nothing for a month. Finally, on May 15th, the Ventnor City Commission wrote a letter. And for those who don't know, in the commission form of government, you have what's called the Board of School Estimates. So the 3 city commissioners actually have the power. 2 school board members are on it, but obviously 3 can outvote 2, unless you get one of the commissioners to agree with 2 school board members. But anyhow, typically doesn't go that way. So Atlantic City Board of Education, attention, Atlantic City Board of Education President Shea Steele, reference Atlantic City Board of Education superintendent position. Ventnor, finally, you did something. But unfortunately, too late. So it's a much heavier lift now. You should have been on this from the beginning. Dear Mr. Steele, and by the way, with all I've been doing their hard lift for them, you'd think they would send me the letter. But they don't, even people that I've known for a lifetime. So shame on you. But I'm going to share the letter because it's late, but it's good. Dear Mr. Steele, Ventnor as a sending district to the Atlantic City High School is extremely concerned a month later, extremely concerned by the inaction of you and the other members of the Atlantic City Board of Education concerning the criminal charges against both the high school principal and superintendent. These criminal charges include allegations of child abuse by your superintendent. The high school principal is also involved in allegedly failing to report same and engaging in what appears to be, at a minimum, a dereliction of her ethical duties to the children of the district. But actually, it's more than that because they were responsible to report it to Child Protective Services by New Jersey law. So it's not just a ethical failing. It's literally a violation of state law. God, they need help. Guys, don't be afraid. Get help. You know so little. While we recognize that the high school principal has been put out on a leave of absence, which we believe to be paid, your board has met twice since the charges were filed back in April, and you've done nothing in regard to the status of the superintendent. The principal and superintendent are responsible for protecting our youth, and the importance of the superintendent's role is clearly recognized by the Atlantic City Board of Education's own policy, which states that, quote, the Board of Education vests the primary responsibility for the administration of the school district in a superintendent of schools and recognizes the appointment of a person to that office is one of the most important functions this board can perform, end quote. So true. The Atlantic City Board of Education's allowance of the superintendent to continue to administer Atlantic City schools at the highest level is of significant concern to the community of Ventnor who send their children to school there. Our community sends both our students and millions of dollars each year to Atlantic City High School and have no representation on the Board of Education. We have requested to be included on the board, even as a non-voting member, but have been denied that ability. We are asking that your board act appropriately and remind you of the statute detailing the Code of Ethics at 18A 1222, which states in pertinent part, and it continues to a second page, A, in our representative form of government is essential that the conduct of the members of the local boards of education and local school administrators hold the respect and confidence of the people. These board members and administrators must avoid conduct which is in violation of their public trust or which creates a justifiable impression among the public such trust is being violated. B, to ensure and preserve public confidence, school board members and local school administrators should have the benefit of specific standards to guide their conduct and some of their disciplinary mechanism to ensure the uniform maintenance of those standards among them. The administration of the Atlantic City School District directly impacts Ventnor and other sending district students, specifically at the high school level. And the public confidence in these administrators is very low at this time. We believe the superintendent should not be allowed to continue in a leadership role with influence over our children while these charges are pending. This is a liability to both Ventnor and other sending districts, and someone must step in to have her removed. Yeah, it's me, Ventnor. I'm stepping in until this case is resolved. We implore you to do the right thing by the students which you are sworn to serve. This letter is being jointly signed by Ventnor City Mayor, Ventnor Board of Education, and President. We ask that the Atlantic City Board of Education take these matters seriously and act accordingly. Now, I received a text message while I was reading that about the former mayor, but of course the former mayor has nothing to do with what the current folks have done. So, John, at least one of the sending districts has finally stepped up.
Yeah, I give them credit, Harry. Listen, our sending district sends millions and millions and millions of dollars to Atlantic City Board of Education. That it's very much needed, okay? So they do have a say. Whether they have enough pupils at the high school to have representation or not, they should have a say. If I gave you $6 million, I mean,
I got to jump in because one of the best parts of the letter was the fact they remind the public. That's why they should have sent this to me as well, because you want the public to know this. You're sending it to the very people that will vote 100 times to not suspend Laquetta Small. You got to get that out to the public so the public understands not only do you have taxation without representation by a whisker, by the way, but you even ask for a non-voting member and they won't give it to you because, John, you know this all too well. They don't want the public to find out what they're doing.
Harry, we've been saying this from every conversation we have. There's no transparency, and then you do speak out or have transparency, they're going to do what they did with me. They'll find a reason, because you can't beat me in an election. They'll find a reason, and then they'll have their legal team find out some obscure law to get rid of you, and then you got to fight for your way back. No problem. But I want to start off by saying this. Lawlessness breeds lawlessness. You have a mayor who controls numerous entities around the city, i.e. ACMUA, i.e. Board of Education, i.e. Housing Authority, i.e. I can keep going, i.e. ward elections. He has his hand in everything. So when you have a guy at the top and all his minions and all his little puppets from the bottom see him making facts, making statements in legal papers saying, I'm the mayor. What are you going to do to me? What do you think that trickles down to? I mean, listen, in the canine world, because I was a canine officer, we used to say your personality runs down lead into the dog. This is what I'm saying. You're the mayor staying out there pumping his fist. Who the hell do you think you are? You can't do this to me. You can't do. It's a bad mental state that is out there right now that everybody's above the law. How dare you do this? Hey, you can break the law, but you're not getting suspended. You're still getting paid. You can still come into work. Matter of fact, Marty, why don't you come into the schools, hold hands with the school kids, walk around? Do you understand the liability that's going on, Harry? If
I do.
Of these children,
I'm a former school board member. That's why I'm so passionate about this. As a parent, as a former school board member, I fully understand the liability here with what they're doing. And that's why now the city failed to act. So the governor is going to have to act. And I'm writing him right now, as a matter of fact. As you were talking, John, I am sending him my article from last night, and I am sending him a copy of the Ventnor Board of Education letter. The state has to take action. The city has proven, John, they will not take action.
That's true, and they only add to it. But the state, I don't remind your listeners because I know you know, this state, which we pay an upward of $700 a day for a state monitor to sit on our board, to sit in the office. She has an office at the Board of Education. She has a seat at the table at the board meetings. She we have a state monitor. There's no reason for you to go to Murphy. It's a shame that you have to. I'm sure you are, and I'm glad you are.
Oh, yeah, I'm typing right now.
You know, how the hell do you not – why would you have to go to such extremes when you have a sitting state monitor on there saying, hey, this is the law. You're charged with a crime. You have to step aside until those charges are clear. It's very simple. They don't want to do it because we go back to my same thing I said earlier. Lawlessness breeds lawlessness. You can't tell them anything. And how dare you even charge? I mean, he said it in his charges. I'm the mayor. Who do you think is going to do anything to me? Come on, Harry. We both know that this state of mentality that's going on in the district right now is very liable. What if one of these children, hypothetically, says Marty's walking through handing out his BS scholarship in his name, right? One of the kids says he doesn't like him, and he kicks him. You know, now we have a child, whether it happened or didn't happen, we have a child who making accusations, and they happen all the time, Harry. It's nothing new, that, you know, somebody assaulted them. Now we have a mayor who's charged in the school. He has no business in the school. Now he's charged again. Do you know what Dave Castellani and all these lawyers will be foaming at the mouth thinking, hey, well, this is exactly what this guy's giving me. He should not be walking around. Matter of fact, last night, you know, he's walking around in the back of the administration building like he owns the place. He doesn't work there anymore. he was laid off years ago and never hired back, but he could roam the halls of the administration office where there's, you know, classified files and children's addresses. And, you know, I mean, I don't want to speak hypothetical, but, you know, there's other charges going on here, and he's in the back and he has access to your child's personal records. Harry, something's got to give. This got to stop. You know, this is outlandish.
Let me ask you this definitive question, and I'll pose it now, and please, if you can, respond to it right after the break. If you are charged with criminal child abuse, are you allowed to go into an Atlantic City public school or any public school? I think I know the answer to this, because obviously if you're not allowed to, then Houston, we have a real problem here with these two, because they are going into schools. And you can't be the superintendent, but she can't go into schools, but she's still active and she's still the superintendent. You can't, I mean, it's just not, it's not workable. So I want to drill down on that, because I'm not 100% sure, but I think I know the answer to it. And by the way, even if it's not legally restricted, it should be set that it can't happen regardless, because it's not right. If you have criminal child abuse charges, you should not be able to have any contact at all with students in the public school setting. Back with John Devlin right after this. Don't go away. And I did send Governor Murphy my breaking news report last night, and also a copy of the 2-page letter from the Ventnor Board of Education. Brigantine, you know, follow along. Don't be afraid. You know, don't be scared. Margate, come on.
This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
It is 36 minutes past the hour with John Devlin. I am Harry Hurley with 3 stories that you can follow on our WPG Talk Radio 95.5 app. The Atlantic City Board of Education does the unthinkable with the Atlantic City mayor's wife. We're talking about it, and you can read all about it. Steve Wynn left Atlantic City. It was a big loss to build this amazing property in Las Vegas. We talk all about it and write all about it. Check that out. And the criminally charged Atlantic City mayor and Take Your Child to Work Day.
Good morning with your South Jersey weather forecast. I'm Joe Kelly. We're looking at a cloudy day across South Jersey for your Friday. High temperature expected to be about 69. Overnight tonight, clouds with a chance of a shower or two, a low 54. And then tomorrow, maybe some morning showers, otherwise mostly cloudy with a high of 62. As of right now, the outlook for Sunday, not too bad, mostly sunny with a high of 67. Next week, we'll be back into the 70s. That's your South Jersey weather forecast. Have a great day. I'm Joe.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5. For complete contest rules, visit WPGTalkradio.com.
Free.
Hurley in the morning.
They always have great conversation.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Hey, thanks very much. Welcome back. 43 minutes past the hour. We're running so late. We're almost to the last break. So we'll do a mini segment. We'll get the break in. Then we'll have one more segment. After the top of the hour break, we'll be joined by Atlantic City Councilman at Large George Tibbett. We are visiting this hour with Atlantic City Board of Education former president, 20-plus year member, John Devlin. I never, ever reveal what Governor Murphy and I talk about, but I will say this. I did what I said I was going to do. I did it live on the air, actually. I sent the governor a quick note explaining my thoughts about this situation involving the superintendent in Atlantic City. I sent the article that I wrote last night, which explains everything that went down, including that they paid an expert and then did not take the expert's advice. And I also shared what I think is a really good letter from the mayor, the commissioners, from the city of Ventnor. And I think it's really good that came from the city of Ventnor commissioners letterhead, not from the Board of Education. So you actually have, with them being the three members, the majority of the Board of School Estimates, there's 5 members, 2 from the board, usually the president, and one other member, not always the president. I was on it, and I was not the president. But 3-2, the city commission has the majority there. The letter is great, and I believe it's extremely helpful. And Mayor Landgraf, thank you for your leadership. John, what else were we talking about right before the break? Because I'm obviously doing like 10 things at one time here, including the governor.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about, Harry.
Well, let me just ask you the one thing that I want to get an answer to. And if you don't know the answer, I'm going to get it. If you are criminally charged with child abuse, are you allowed to be in a public school?
I mean, Harry, I hate to say this, but I would say absolutely not. But we've never had a case where an administrator was charged with child abuse and attempted to come back in the school.
Well, I've been told the mayor has been back into a public school since he's been criminally charged with child abuse. Now, I don't have that confirmed, but I have one reliable source that says that it is a fact. So my question extends past just LaQuetta Small and goes to Marty Small. As mayor of Atlantic City and currently standing criminally charged, and his are monstrous charges, broomstick Marty and all that, is someone that's criminally charged allowed to set foot in a public school? It's a pretty easy question. Somebody's got to know the answer.
Right. I mean, shooting from the hip without looking at a 2C book, I would say absolutely not. And let me add to that, Harry. You also have a superintendent that's charged, that's stomped. I get more phone calls now. It's so funny. I get more phone calls now from teachers now that I'm off the board than when I was on the board. But I did get a lot then as well. But you have LaQuetta Smalls yesterday. Instead of doing superintendent's work, she's scrolling through social media. Notices one of her teachers made a social post. I'm guessing it was about the whole situation. Made a social media post, stomped in the high school, stomped into Pennsylvania Avenue School and suspended her on the spot. This is the kind of, behavior that's very dangerous, Harry.
Oh, that's why they have to go. And I believe they will be going. Let me share something. This is also breaking news. We're going to follow up in more detail. We're just on overload here. There is so much, and there's so much information that's coming in. In the past, when there have been moments of challenge, there have been public efforts to get, because this administration doesn't get the truth out to the public. So on Instagram, there is an effort, and it is ACBOE, meaning Atlantic City Board of Education, the _ corruption. So ACBOE _ corruption. And it reads as follows. due to the inability of the Board of Education to do the right thing and suspend the superintendent, we will be activating this page again. However, this time around, if you have stories of abuse in Atlantic City School District with proof of your own personal experience, we will forward that information to the Atlantic County Prosecutor's Office so justice can be served. We will also be reaching out to major media companies, Netflix, Prime, etc., to pick up the story of Atlantic City school corruption. So that's going to be happening. There's going to be a lot of transparency coming from other people. And certified and supportive staff members, I encourage you, reach out to me. I have a 32-year track record as of this July 1st of never burning a source, never revealing a source that asks to be confidential. It is the information, not exposing you, that is important. So we have a real accomplished track record of earning people's trust in that way. Keep the information coming. It's the only way that we're going to solve this problem, because the problem makers are not the solution. So we have to get the truth out in other ways. So I like this site that's going to be able to put information out. We will continue to intellectually, honestly put out the truth. And John, let me get the last break in, and then you'll have the final word when we come back in just a little bit. Don't go away. Atlantic City Councilman at Large, George Tibbett, about 15 minutes away.
You're waking up with Hurley in the morning.
Brigantine. Mays Landing. Each State. Ocean City.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5, South Jersey's talk station. You're listening to Hurley in the Morning on South Jersey's talk station, WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio. Wake up weekday mornings with Hurley in the Morning.
This is the stuff we need to talk about.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Thank you. 5 minutes before the top of the hour. Let's make it count. John, time is yours as promised.
Hey, Harry, I just want to say that you were in good company at the last council meeting. I heard my name was mentioned as one of the 6 people that hate or quote unquote is against the mayor. I want to make it clear here. There's no hate in my heart. There's not enough time in the day to keep hate in my heart. Do I think this mayor is horrific? I think he's a horrific mayor, yes. Do I think that the superintendent of schools is not doing a good job? Yes. And I'm going to call them out on every chance I see it. One, I'm a taxpayer. One, I'm a parent. And one, I have relatives in the district. And I have a lot of friends and family that go to this district. So with that being said, I don't need to justify my existence to a bunch of thugs and corruption criminals that have some outlandish opinion of what I'm all about. With that,
by the way, I was really honored. I mean, it's my understanding too, because I was not there, but I'm in the company of John Devlin, George Tibbett, Senator Vince Palestina, Atlantic County Prosecutor Will Reynolds. I might be leaving out someone, but yeah, I'm in good company.
Yeah, Harry, we don't have to justify our existence. There's no hate here. I don't wake up every morning hating anybody, but I do wake up concerned about my city. I do wake up concerned about my school district. And right now, we're on bad times. We have a district that's in shambles. We have a city that's a mess. I mean, if I have to even tell anybody or challenge anybody, drive down Atlantic Avenue. You tell me, the number one road in Atlantic City, you tell me if that's a suitable road to drive on to bring visitors here. I mean, it's May, Memorial Day's next week. You're going to pave the whole Atlantic Avenue by next week, so when the visitors and people come to Atlantic City to gamble and eat and beyond are going to drive down that road. I mean, it's just, little things like that,
yeah.
Quality life issues are just over the top, out the window.
John, give me 30 seconds and you'll get the final 2 minutes of the hour. This is about a city that is broken right now. This is about a school system that is broken right now, and both have to be fixed. It's not personal at any level.
This is a mindset that needs to be changed. We need, as community, as a community leader like you, as community members, part of this government, we need transparency. Now, I'm not saying Atlantic City is above other districts. Things happen here, unfortunately. It's how we handle those things. That's how you better yourself as a government. How you handle a child abuse case, how you handle criminal charges against administrators. Right now, we're the laughingstock of the nation, not the state, not the county, of the nation.
And that's why the state has to come in and do a big save here, and I believe that they will. A really good friend just sent me something that I love, and I wrote back, I love this. It says, remember, if you play small, you stay small. It's okay to want more, do more, be more. I love that, John. Closing comment, it's yours.
Harry, again, thank you, and thank you for listening. Thank you, listening audience. I think we need to do better, Harry. What is going on at the district at this point in time is horrific. Outside of the conflicts, outside of the unethical decisions being made by Shea Steel and Company, is beyond criminal. It's unethical, and it's not good for the taxpayers of Atlantic City, the community, parents, and most importantly, the children.
John, great to visit with you. Thank you for your leadership, and thank you for your calmness in the face of, having your board seat on the school board taken away, your presidency and board seat on the Atlantic City Municipal Utilities Authority taken away. But we always knew how the worm was going to turn, and it is. We'll keep in touch. Have a great weekend, John.
Thank you, Eric. Good night.
WPGG Atlantic City, WENJ HD3 Millville, a Town Square media station. Everything you need to know in 6 minutes.
Kelly.
From Harry Hurley Way in the world's playground to the broadcast pioneers of Philadelphia Hall of Fame. You're about to find out why Harry Hurley has been named to the Talkers Magazine list of the 100 most important talk show hosts in the nation. Live from the studios of Town Square Media in Northfield, it's Hurley in the Morning on WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app.
All right, I feel like Joe Torre, who is my favorite manager of all time, and I feel like it's, the core four, Derek Jeter, Mariano Rivera, Jorge Posada, and that group, and that it's the ninth inning. It's the bottom of the ninth, and I'm Joe Torre, and I come out, and I'm grabbing my right forearm, and I'm going to the bullpen, and Bob Shepard is winding up Enter Sandman, and we have our closer, Atlantic City Councilman at Large George Tibbett, who we close our broadcast week out every single week. And no, it's not by accident. It's absolutely on purpose. Councilman Tibbett, welcome.
Welcome, and thanks for having me. What a week.
Did you have a good time at the last council meeting? Was it just calm and
one of my favorites
and wonderful?
Yeah.
One of your favorite ever, right?
It was eventful. It was definitely one of.
These are not times for the meek. I mean, these are tough times right now.
No, I tell you, even I'll start your show off with, Harry. Even me at 56, I have role models, and my buddy Joe. I think of him when things get tough. That last council meeting, it was a very uncomfortable one, and I always think one of Joe's saying, get comfortable being uncomfortable, and kept it together, and that was probably the most uncomfortable meeting that I was involved in for a short period of time before I realized what was going on there. They come at me, two things that are near and dear to me and have always been near and dear to me as a council person for the past, since 2006, is the seniors, and I've always praised our public works department.
That's true.
Always. And they came at me, or you could tell it was orchestrated. The mayor lost his mind over an interview we did a couple weeks ago. I guess you played a replay when you went to a funeral, so I guess they thought it was that day and they brought it back to life.
It was such a good interview that it was chosen as that 1 hour. So that created, there is this thing called, the law of unintended consequences.
Well, first of all, Harry, I've taken great pride on your show not speaking about his wife or his daughter.
You've been terrific.
I outright said I'm going to have to take a cowardly way out and not answer it many, many times. One question I did answer, a direct question from you, because I went back and listened to the last 2 shows to see if maybe I did, because one of my colleagues said, it's not right, it's private. And I said, well, you're right. If I did, I didn't mean to. But I went and listened, and I listened to the last 2 shows, and I said nothing about them. I clearly said, as kind as I am to them, and not saying a word about his wife and family, he would not do the same for me. It was one of the statements that I made. But the only question I've ever answered was when you asked me a direct question, and I kind of gave you an out of left field answer that basically didn't answer your question when I said, she should not be treated any worse or any better.
I thought it was a great answer.
She should be treated fairly.
I called you Switzerland.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was very diplomatic.
But it stopped right there. The courtesy and being a father, husband, every grandfather, all of us stopped right there. When it came to the boy, let me back up. A little bit.
Go ahead.
Somebody had said something to me a few weeks ago walking into a store that happened to work for Public Works the day before your show aired. And it bothered me. So knowing what I knew about this young boy, that you went after this young kid, and in his affidavit to the tort claim, he claims that they tried to get him arrested. That bothered me, Harry, when
terrible.
I grew up. I didn't have money growing up, and I know what it's like to not be able to financially defend yourself against people that have a lot of money. And over something this stupid that should go away has been blown so far out of proportion. This young child should not have to deal with what he's dealing with. He's claiming that he wasn't allowed to go to school. He's claiming they tried to get him arrested and put in jail. That's crossing the line, man. That's really, really crossing the line. And his family don't have the money to defend that.
In a legal document, he alleges that he was kept out of school for more than a month.
So I call, they get upset. And if they're upset, they have a right to be upset. Everybody feels the way they do, but saying, why did I pick Public Works when I said the comment about spitting on the mayor, I immediately within 30 seconds said, listen, that was said out of passion. It was said, I was going to say should punch him in the face. I caught myself and I said something more stupid, but I immediately took responsibility for it. I immediately said it was a figure of speech. Please don't do it. I apologize to your listeners, not the mayor. Let's not get that confused. I still share the same disdain and disrespect for the way he's behaving in an office, as good as that mayor's office and the way he's representing it. That doesn't change. But I corrected myself immediately on your show when I said that.
You
Harry.
did. I mean, you did.
And to make something out of it. But
yeah, you did.
My love for Public Works has never, ever been challenged.
Give me the floor for just a second. You didn't criticize Public Works.
I gave them nothing but praise on the job they did.
That was just liars who lie about lying that tried to create a controversy for you that didn't exist. Anybody in Atlantic City Public Works, go to the podcast from last Friday or even the Friday before, and in the 9 o'clock hour, you will hear Councilman Tibbet praises you, Public Works Department folks, to the nth degree. The only way you were brought up was within this figurative comment that you took back right away. But it wasn't a criticism of them.
Absolutely not. Not at all. It was only
that
because
was that they should be disgusted with him.
Somebody had called me a name when I walked in the store, and it was on my mind, and that's why I said it. But, Harry, there's no one in the city that identifies with Public Works more than me. Who started out at $8 an hour as a young man? Who worked the dumpsters? Who was the guy that was in the dumpsters nonstop as the youngest guy on the totem pole? Who was the guy that, worked in the dumpster slop in the casinos where I had to rip out pipes and got right in there with my men? I grew up poor. I'll die poor, Harry. In my mind, I'm always working to get ahead. I identify with people that have struggled their whole lives and have worked their butts off to have what they have today. And I always value labor. It's one thing that no one can take away from me. I value the hard work that people do. I am one of them. None of them can ever identify as doing the jobs that they did like I did.
You got
and I appreciate everything and where they come from, the hard work, the dirty jobs. I did them all myself. I am one of them. Maybe I didn't work for Public Works, but I worked in other construction fields that did the same type of work of them. Never, ever in my life have I acted better or anything. Like I said, in my mind, I'm still poor today. I will die that kid from the city that had to hustle and to make. I will teach my kids to always respect and help those get to the next step. My whole career, whether it was working for John Slake's company or my own business, hiring people from Atlantic City at pay of over $100 an hour with their benefit package. Times I've not taken a paycheck for 3 months to make the payments to their health benefits, to make the payments to them, where people thought I was super rich or something because I had a company. No, you struggle with that stuff. But, it hurts me because I do love those guys. I respect the work that they do. And if somebody took it that way, I can't say they're wrong.
I'll say
if they feel that way, but it's not. I want to make that clear to all the guys, how much I respect you, the work you did. I was there. I'm one of you. Remember that. I'm one of you.
Let me get the break in, but independent of what Councilman Tibbet just said, I was here for it. He never, I'll speak directly to you, George, you never badmouthed the Public Works Department.
No.
And the person or persons that set that up for the council meeting know they were lying. They know that you never did. And again, that's why I love the fact that truth is an affirmative defense.
Yes.
And our podcast memorializes exactly what took place. Nothing but praise for the Public Works Department from you, and liars who lie about lying just wanted to cause trouble.
Yeah, look at the 6 text messages from them that they just, please leave us out of it.
Yeah.
We're not in this. Please don't think bad of us. Everybody's afraid to lose their jobs if they take a position.
You heard what John
Devlin.
So
they're all being quiet.
You heard John Devlin.
Yes.
When you were on your way in.
That confirms what's going on in this city right now.
And that's to chill the atmosphere, to make anyone that would even think about stepping out and saying something, oh my God, you're going to get suspended.
Yep.
I got to tell you, I know Will Reynolds, and he does the right thing. If a superintendent suspended somebody like that, that is, in my estimation, that is alleged criminal activity.
You know who's been very helpful to me? And it's going to shock you and the listening audience, and I have a great deal of respect getting to know him. Steve Young. Steve Young calls, we were talking, and he says, George, if you said anything undertones of racism or anything else, I would have been the first one to call you. He goes, you know what you did do, though, George? You exposed how the people tried to hurt that young boy.
Yeah.
You exposed that somebody ratted on him or made up charges. You hurt the kid. Listen, I understand what that kid's going through.
Your whole passion during that whole thing was in defense of the child.
But they want to take action against me at the council. I'll wear it with a badge of honor. It'll be my number one accomplishment. Sticking up for child victim number 1, victim 2, victim 3, victim 4 that I stand up for. This young boy, it's a terrible situation that they're dealing with, but you don't try and hurt somebody. And what I was trying to do was get the community behind this young boy.
Yeah.
I was trying to get the community to feel the passion that I feel, that how do we stand by and let people that have money and are in positions of power to hurt a young child like that? I was trying to rally the troops with that speech, which it wasn't the best one. Sometimes I get myself in trouble. I'm not going to watch any more Donald Trump stuff because I'm going to end up in trouble. But all serious aside, it was me trying to rally the troops behind this young kid. This kid deserves our support. We're talking about a Romeo-Juliet BS thing, and it's getting escalated to this where lives could be ruined. The kid has shown a great deal of respect and caring in him.
And courage.
And courage. And we deserve, all of us out there listening, no matter, we deserve to help this kid. If somebody of power and big finance that we, the taxpayers, pay, we should be supportive of this kid in any way that we can.
I mean, there was an attempt to criminally prosecute him.
Yeah,
that's outrageous.
And that's why, if I hurt anybody's feelings by my words in public works, please take it from. It was from my heart. It wasn't said out of disrespect. And
but
I hope you can understand.
You didn't say anything.
I know
they
I didn't.
Lied.
But if somebody feels that way, I just want to make it clear. I said it public. I want to correct it public.
It's a great opening comment. Great opening segment. We'll be right back. Atlantic City Councilman at Large George Tippett continues. Dateline Atlantic City on the Truth in Broadcasting.
Starting your day the right way with Hurley in the morning.
It's a refreshing drive to work in the morning.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Enable our skill and tell your smart speaker, play WPG.
Free.
You're listening to Hurley in the morning.
It's a source I can trust.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
It is 22 minutes past the hour. It's a pleasure to present Atlantic City Councilman at Large George Tippett. And to the citizens of Atlantic City, you are so fortunate to have someone like George going to bat for you at this critical tipping point moment. George, I want to pose a question and then quick answer from you, and then I know you have other content that you want to share, and I'm just going to turn it over to you for quite a bit of this segment. This, to me, is, and we've seen them before, this is a critical tipping point in the history of Atlantic City.
Harry, it is. When just yesterday the reports came out on the casinos again, and let's face it, the casinos are a number one employer for the county. And I say the county, not just the city of Atlantic City, and we're responsible for all those people's jobs. The numbers, again, were down in in-person visits. Everybody keeps looking at the sports book and the online gaming.
Right.
And guess what? It don't cost a lot of money, no bricks and mortars for that.
But also the sports book, they don't keep people.
Yeah,
the number
exactly.
isn't what you think it is.
It just shows what was taken in.
Correct.
And our in-person visits are very low. And, you know...
And that's a problem.
It's a big problem because it's a trend that continues to go down when you have stores closing left and right. It's... You got New York. Thank God that they're having their own problems that are slowing things down, and people are more watching the crime taking place on the subways and the streets there than they are Atlantic City. So we have that going for us, as well as their slow-moving pace. But if we don't get some glamorous stuff going on, clean our streets up, the homelessness, the people addicted to drugs that are being sent here from all over, at least that's one thing the mayor and I completely agree on. How we get it done is another. You can't be donating money to people that are encouraging them to come here. We have to do something a little different. But, you know, I'm responsible for protecting those bellman's jobs, the waiters' jobs, all those, all the people that survive off of tourist dollars. And it's getting scary when you look at the midweek. Midweek, we're slow right now, and weekends we're busy, but we got to do something for that midweek to keep people working and being able to provide for their families. You look at the cost of food up 33%. You look at the price of houses. A basic rancher selling for $370,000 in Egg Harbor Township now. Who can afford to buy houses right now? What's the next generation going to get? If we don't give them our houses, what are they going to get? It's scary times in Atlantic City right now, and what's taking place is making a joke out of the city. Like I said, you look at what's taking place at the school board. Everybody says, let's go by stats. All right, let's go by the stats.
Oh.
We're ranking at the bottom in almost everything. And look at the money that we're spending on the schools. Should Ventnor, Margate, and Brigantine have no representation at all with the money they pay and be forced to go to our schools? We should be putting out a product that the old Atlantic City High School people would lie, steal, cheat, whatever they could to use an address to get to go to Atlantic City High. And that's what we got to do. But when you hear a story like somebody posts something so they get suspended immediately, do you think the best and the brightest teachers are going to come to Atlantic City wondering if that could be them? If they have choices other places?
And George,
ultimately our kids get cheated.
Yes, and here's the other thing. By a fraction of 1%, the ascending districts could combine and have one representative. In my day, we had one from Ventnor, Margate, and Brigantine. This ought to alarm the heck out of Atlantic City that the enrollment is not only are the test scores declining precipitously, the enrollment is declining terribly. And now that it's not compulsory where you have to go there, now that you have choice, it's a whole different ballgame. You have to be better to make people, want to choose you. But it's terrible. All right, so here's what happened, and I covered it in real time, George. The second they got the numbers, and it was just slightly below the percentage you need to have a ascending district member, they couldn't wait to write the letter and tell them you don't have a member anymore. They should at least give them a non-voting member.
Harry, they should not be forced. They should not be forced to use our schools unless they have representation and their interests to be heard in a proper manner. Not in a 3-minute where you get to come up and speak for 3 minutes and get cut off and hope you get an answer. It's their children. Our children are our future. And they have a right to have some say in what goes on with their kids. Otherwise, they shouldn't be forced to go here. I believe our state legislators should do something to make sure that they have a voice on that board, or completely not force them to have to go to our schools.
I think they should take that population thing out.
We need to put the best product out there to make people want to cheat, fake addresses, make them want to be here again. This was the place to be where we had to hire people to watch where they were going home.
Right,
we were the most covenant school where people wanted to do whatever they could, find a way to get to go to Atlantic City High School.
Right. They
and we
to
need to get back to that. We all have to be proud of our schools. We have to be proud of our children. We have amazing children in our schools. They just, we need to put the best foot forward because we're definitely putting the money forward. We're definitely giving them the resources, and we got to get back to making our school the most sought-after school around to go to. So, do we got time before a break for me to start something, or are we going to go into
We have
the break?
2 minutes.
I'm going to start after the break. So,
okay. We'll go to the break now.
Okay.
And that way we'll come back and even have a little bit more time in the upcoming segment. It is Atlantic City Councilman at Large George Tibbett. I'm Hurley in the Morning. This is WPG Talk Radio 95.5. A reminder, if you ever miss anything, you hear about, oh my God, did you hear George? Did you hear this? Did you hear that? You hear Harry? When the podcast is uploaded, you download it from the app, the WPG Talk Radio 95.5 smartphone app. We'll be back. Much more important content right after this.
In a world full of fake news, AI, and unverified information on social media, where can you get the latest, most accurate South Jersey news? WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app. Don't wait for the newspaper to come in the mail. The WPG Talk Radio app is updated around the clock from New Jersey's largest radio news team. Accurate, dependable, reliable. When you need to know, it's WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app. Hurley in the Morning, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Hurley in the Morning.
Harry Hurley is the only person that can make sense of what's happening in Atlantic City.
On WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Welcome back. 34 minutes past the hour, visiting with Atlantic City Council Member at Large George Tibbett. Friday morning, TGIF in the World's Playground. Councilman, time is yours.
Okay, so we've had at least 3 people come up to me where the mayor is going to get me, were his exact words. I got 1 in writing. The other 2 won't give it to me in writing from my attorney.
It's going to get you.
But the next, at that council meeting, now it all makes sense. They packed the room with senior citizens, and that was super uncomfortable because they were the ones that brought us all up, and they put the rumor out there that I was cutting senior services.
Oh my God!
And there would be no more services, and that I said they don't do nothing. And again, on your show, they don't even hear good. And maybe they need to use our insurance to get the ears checked. What I said, Harry, and I think you know, was when speaking about a budget, we use that as an example. CRDA, it is no secret, it's in the paper, it's everywhere, is limited on funds that it could give out to the community. Their resources have been stretched. It's no secret. It's public information. So I said, dealing with the budget and our seniors, maybe we should look into, since all these buildings have a social worker in their buildings. Now I'm told one or two do not. But regardless, when you look at somebody making $50,000 a year, and then you throw on $35,000 for benefits. Now, understand, $50,000 a year would probably be one of the lowest salaries. I said, maybe we need to look at all the salaries and maybe take some of that money, less people working, put the money in the hands directly of the social workers. So instead of them getting one or two things done every couple weeks, that social worker can set events up all week long, every week. So basically, what George was saying was to give more product to the cause, not salaries.
Yeah.
What is wrong with that? To give, and I gave the example at the council meeting. You take a 501c, some of these 501cs out there, and you see where 85% of the dollar goes to salary and 15% to the cause. All I said was maybe we need to take a look at it. And because I said CRDA needs to look at the monies that they're given, they lost their minds. Lost their minds because
but see, that's
sometimes when you lose your mind, you show your cards.
But that is that attitude of, say, a Marty Small, who has only lived off the taxpayer dole his entire life. But if you've owned a business, you've employed employees, you've signed the front of checks.
I went without a paycheck to pay my employees for many weeks.
So it's a
different mentality.
Yeah.
And my goal was to get more for our seniors. I just go businesses. It's what I love. I look for waste in things. It's a bad habit. But it's what makes me spin when I look at the way to make things more efficient. It's what makes my mind work. But I was just looking at that, and I'm looking at how much more I could get for my seniors because I see social service people that work in all these buildings. And it was something that I thought the city should look at. At no time did I say cut senior services or anybody's job or anything else. But, see, that's the mentality. They're doing to me what they did to Devlin and everybody else. But at least I got to learn the fight, and I got to learn from the Devlins of the world on what they went through. If you think what they did to John Devlin's bothering him, his life is better than ever, making more money than ever. He's happier than ever. The people of Atlantic City lost out when they did that to Devlin. He was the one that was actually protecting your children. The people you thought were lining their pockets. So, as uncomfortable it was, real quick, I got comfortable being uncomfortable.
I like that line. The other thing that comes to my mind is that when they go after somebody like Devlin, they don't help their cause. Yeah. The truth ultimately comes out. I remember saying, they won't change their policies on children being sexually abused.
Think about that.
So I said...
That's a no-brainer.
I said, yeah, we're going to find out. We kind of know now, but we'll find out one day why that is. Well, we know now why.
Yeah. And, at least a guy like John Devlin and me, we could walk anywhere in this county and be treated with the same respect that we give people. If there's a small group in Atlantic City that hates us because of this, I'll have to live with that. I don't like it, but I'll have to live with that. But the supermajority of the people in Atlantic City tell us, keep the fight up. Of all different backgrounds tell us. It's amazing how many people are genuinely afraid, not of physicalness, that this guy's a tough guy or whatever, but they're generally afraid of their jobs, their health benefits, being able to put a roof over their head. And this is the monster that we should all avoid. And again, Governor Murphy, you can make it stop in a snap of a finger. It's over. It's not that complicated.
No, it's not. I think most of it is going to have to wait until Jack Ciattarelli is governor, though.
Yeah. You know something? Let me tell you a story about my party affiliation. It's funny. When I was, how did I become, I originally was a Republican, and let me tell you how it happened. As a construction worker, my unions were 100% Democrat, but in Atlantic County area, all our unions were encouraged to sign up Republican to support the great Senator Bill Gormley. What Bill has done for jobs in the 80s, 90s, 2000s when he was in there was very beneficial to the building trades. So as a young kid, I walk into Chelsea Heights School to go to vote, and it's a primary. I'm a young, dumb, never got involved in elections, voting. I was too busy working to make money. And they said, oh, well, you got to pick a side. I'm like, what do you mean pick a side? I got to vote. And they go, well, what side? I said, well, I got to be on the Bill Gormley side, whatever that is. So, you have to declare that day. And I guess I became a Republican that day. I didn't know what I was. I was a Bill Gormley supporter, the guy that brought jobs and construction and business to Atlantic City. But that's how I became, as I got older, more involved with my union and all, and we were more... Don't forget, we're out of Philadelphia, Maryland, Virginia, and all those areas. You became, and you learned about your dollar, how far to spread it, your children, your educations, and all. A lot of things I supported the Democratic Party, but I'm looking at my party as like, no, you're not what I believe in. Not that it's something that lines up with 100% Republican or something, but this wokeness that's going on, what you see going on with New York, nobody's fought with Trump more than me. And I can honestly say that's a kangaroo court, and that's dangerous because just like the Democrats are doing it to Trump now, it could be turned and the Republicans could do it to you. And it destroys the fabric of our society when you don't respect the justice system and you don't and you try and manipulate little words and laws. And when this is allowed to happen, and I'm not a Trump fan. I mean, I fought with the guy over tax appeals. But what's happening to him is wrong. And when you look on the world stage right now, my president is clearly suffering. He's suffering from what we're all going to go through, old age. We change. We can't beat Father Time. And it's almost, I feel like they're putting him up there to make a fool of him, to control him. But it's making our country look weak.
So true.
And a guy like Trump, I really believe you need Trump for 4 years so that the Republicans and the Democrats can get back and say, hey, look at the message we just got. They put Trump back in. Now, the next election, we put two powerhouses in from the Republican Party and the Democrats to go at it till either one wins. We are respected on the world stage. When I look at us being $34 trillion in debt, and you look at China and Russia being $3.4, $3.5 trillion in debt, the number one national risk to our security as a nation is our debt. And we got to do something different. People, Build Back Better, all this other stuff, all this money, PPP loans, and people are robbing out there. You look at the list all over the place, and that's unborn children going to be forced to pay that, if they could pay it, if it doesn't destroy our country. So, Harry, we're doing it in Atlantic City, what's happening nationally. Manipulating the laws, controlling things. And then when the governor doesn't stand up, come on, big guy, it's on your watch. This is your legacy. You don't get to blame Sheila Oliver because you put Sheila in there. You don't get to blame anybody else. You did it, Governor. It's on your watch. 8 years. Step up and do something. So far, Jack Ciattarelli's the only guy that has stood up and said something. And I just want that from the governor that I supported to stand up and do what's best for Atlantic City. If it's wrong and this whole thing is wrong, then say it and do it. But right now, you can't tell me the streets of Atlantic City are cleaner or safer.
No, you can't. Final break, closing segment coming up right after this. Atlantic City Councilman at Large, George Tibbett, on a busy news day. Look for me later. I can't tell you exactly where, but later I will pop up at the national level. There's a lot. We will be doing quite a bit later today. You'll know how to find me. We'll be back right after this. It's 45 minutes past the hour.
Early in the morning.
They stick to the facts.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5. WPGG Atlantic City, WENJ HD3 Millville, a Town Square media station.
Pure Talk, my sponsor and my wireless company, of now providing international roaming to over 50 countries. Now, as you plan your summer travel, make sure that your wireless company covers you at home and abroad. Now you can get unlimited talk and text, plenty of 5G data for just $20 a month. That's less than half the price of Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile for the exact same service. Dial pound 250, say the keyword save now. Do it now. You save an additional 50% off your first month. Make the switch to Pure Talk so you can afford to travel this summer. You know, since 9/11, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation has been committed to supporting our nation's first responders and veterans. They support America's heroes like U.S. Army Major Jonathan Turnbull. Now, Major Turnbull sustained devastating injuries at the hands of an ISIS suicide bomber. Tunnel to Towers gave him a specially adapted smart home designed for his needs. Join Tunnel to Towers. They're hoping all of us will donate $11 a month so this great work continues. Their website, the letter T, the number 2, the letter T.org.
You're listening to Hurley in the Morning.
Established, reputable.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
We're back 10 minutes before the top of the hour, 16 minutes until Brian Kilmeade. A reminder, live and local tomorrow morning beginning in the 5 o'clock hour with my very good friend Tom P., Rack and Fin Radio. John DeMasi from 9 to 12 noon, live and local as well. And Carmen Murata with a very listenable hour from noon to 1 p.m. Tony Mart presents. And it's all good stuff. Right here on the station that plays the winners, WPG Talk Radio, 95.5, because of you, South Jersey's talk station. Councilman Tibbet, because there's a criminally charged mayor, a criminally charged superintendent of public schools, it almost feels like no business is being done. I mean, the school board, for example, they've had 3 meetings. All they do is go in executive session, they walk out and look stupid and say nothing and just keep walking. Is any business being conducted?
Now, you can see there's good people, a lot of good people in good spots and directors and things of that nature that do the day-to-day business as if nothing's going on. They just stay focused on with their crews and keep the city moving forward the best they can.
You know, I see these text messages from Marty, hey, they're 6 p.m. tonight. They're voting whether to suspend my wife. I mean, they're making people so uncomfortable with their activities.
Yeah, that's not a secret. That's not a secret at all.
Just wrong.
It's not a good show for us as a city, and there's a lot of hard-working people working for the city, and they just want to be left alone. They don't want to have to go to no public information officer meeting and have to stop what they're doing, their job for the day, to listen to. Because bottom line is, I've reached in my pocket for people and helped, taking taxpayer money and giving it to people. It's not your money. It's the people that are working. Every one of those workers that work every day, it's their tax dollars. It's their income tax, their property tax, the grant money that comes in. That's not made to grow on a tree. It's people's money. It's a deduction out of their paychecks. When you reach in your own pocket and do something for somebody, come talk to me. Then I'll be proud of you. Until you do that, you just living off the public dole, and it's just shame. It's, they try to make it a big deal. When I came on your show, Harry, this is the last thing I'll talk about your past show, but to relive it, obviously it got good ratings. Pissed people off that you got those great ratings. But when I said that the police and fire should get the same raise as everybody else, try to turn that controversial. If you're claiming there's $90 million in surplus, clearly there's money to give the same raise to everybody in there. But that tried to be manipulated into, you favor the police and fire. No, I don't. I think everybody's jobs. I've always argued that, some of the things I've done is just as dangerous as some of the things that the fire and police do. We all face danger, but you got to respect what they do, and that's their job, to put their life on the line, and they do it, and they deserve the same raise that everybody else. It doesn't make them any better, any worse. It doesn't. I just feel that the money's there. Give it to them.
Yeah.
Well, because when the cuts came, and the cuts were proportionate to what they made, they gave bigger cuts. Like I said to you before, a guy making $100,000, $11,000 to $12,000 goes right to medical. Now you're down to $88,000. Then you got to make your pension contribution, another $12,000. So before taxes, you're in the mid-70s. So, they're not making that big glamorous check that everybody thinks of, but then think about what they deal with every day, where you and I get to go home, where they got to deal with the worst of the worst every day, and we take it for granted. The firefighters have to go pick up those dead bodies all over the street from overdoses. You and I don't have to do that every day. They're not trained militarily to be mentally better at dealing with deaths, but they're forced to deal with that many deaths. You look at the cops that have to deal with those deaths every day. It's not normal for a human to have to deal with the amount of deaths that they deal with. It's not to mention gunshots and knives and knivings and everything else that are out there.
And then what that does to the impression of Atlantic City not being safe, which hurts people if they want to make a decision. Look, if you get one vacation a year, you don't want to go somewhere where the reputation is you might get shot or you might get stabbed.
Absolutely.
So that all has to be turned around big time. Councilman, New Jersey Superior Court assignment judge Michael Blee, I think he made the absolute right call. He's given the CRDA a 60-day window to review this road diet scheme, this goofy nonsense, and I am hopeful that will bring about the end of that. Look, I want the road to get finished and resurfaced.
But we got to do it smart.
Right, and resynchronizing the lights has to get done, but not at the cost of turning a 4-lane road that's so integral to Atlantic City into a 2-lane disaster.
Yeah, I drove through Brigantine. They got one like that. Perfect for Brigantine.
And Margate, it's okay.
It makes you crazy driving through Margate between people walking out in the middle of the street.
It's true.
You got signs.
I didn't like it when they did
stripes all over the place. I'm a bundle of nerves by the time I get to the Longport Bridge to cross over.
By the way, you never see if you
summer.
come from Atlantic City into Margate.
It don't work in Atlantic City. It's just that simple.
It's one of the worst setups I've ever seen because all of a sudden 2 lanes turn into 1 with no warning whatsoever.
But you got that law that they passed where the pedestrians have the right of way where they just jump right out. When you're looking at all those, when I'm looking at all these different cutoffs, the green lane, this, that, I have to real quick remember to look for people jumping out as well. It's like, man, I'll take Ventnor Avenue and take 10 times as long before I have to deal with all the lines in the street. It just
and the comment you were making, George, and I want you to please continue on that, is that it doesn't work in Atlantic City.
It just doesn't work.
You've got the big unloading
are we gonna
area.
Fight this?
I mean,
this is one of those cases where we got to be very thankful that we do have, that the CRDA has oversight over this and that they have a right to look at this and do proper studies.
But something that was very bad, Marty proceeded with the project and never brought it to the CRDA.
Yeah, I'm having a lot of trouble getting information on where the $10 million came from. Was it approved prior to doing it, and then the $10 million came from the state to cover that first phase that the money wasn't there?
I heard it wasn't there.
So and just trying to get documentation to back up what we were told. But Harry, I want to take a minute, and I want to thank a lot of your listeners, Harry, people that from all over the county, people from Atlantic City that have been nonstop texting support. Because let me tell you, those little text messages, some days, when you fight the fight day after day after day like we do, and the hate that we experience in some places and things that we do, those little texts mean the most.
Yeah.
They really, really, when some days you got to dig deep to keep going, and you get those text messages, trust me, people.
It's like fuel.
It makes you keep fighting.
I shared confidentially with George that somebody that I know really well wrote, "Love this guy." And if he gives me permission, I know he's listening. If he gives me permission to tell George who it is.
We don't want to hurt them.
But if he wants me to tell that it's him, I will. But for right now, it's confidential. But he wrote, "Love this guy."
Harry, I don't want nothing. I have not made money. No public workers ever come to my house and work on my house. None of that stuff ever has happened. I've taken money out of my pocket. I've thrown fundraiser for the kid that almost lost his arm in the salt spreader thing. Yes. I got yelled at for why I only do it for him and not others. And, I try to do that stuff. I'm not a taker. I am a proud maker. I'm not a taker in this world. And I believe in leaving something better for the next generation. And I get very upset when I see these colleges. Trust me, if my kid was on that college, he would pray that I only had a broom to beat him with. if he ever acted like that and disrespected this country and everything that those that have sacrificed their lives, sacrificed limbs, mental capabilities to give us the rights and the protections that we get to have here.
Yeah, some of that has just been terrible to watch.
It's really terrible.
They don't realize either their social media garbage that they write, they're all on video, and law enforcement actually took their face masks off, and they were like perp walked with the zip ties and their arms and hands behind
But they
their
want
back.
us to pay for that education.
It's insane.
You
I
know, Harry, I didn't go to college. I didn't have the money. I would have loved to have gone to college. Thank God I met a guy like Mr. Sykes that taught me more than any college could ever give me.
What do you think about the fact that you chose to work and you formed a company and you've been very successful and you're paying your fair share to pay off other people's college loans?
It makes me crazy because I save. I try and I do things that my kids, the ones that went to college, didn't go to college, whatever. You know, you do things to help them to get ahead. Why am I paying for somebody else to go to these monster universities that have the time in their life to study basket weaving? You know, if you take courses and there's no field when you come out and you got student loan, shame on you. Your parents should have told you to take courses where there was something in that field where you could come out and make money. Harry, I do believe that those kids should have the interest knocked down to next to nothing. The interest rates, they're predators to these young kids that allow them to go to these schools that they really can't afford, and they're ruined for life from some of these loans. I do believe it should be an interest-free loan or at least a 1-2% interest rate so that they could actually pay for their mistake.
Yeah.
It's your mistake, not mine. Pay for it, but they shouldn't be gouged with the type of interest that they are.
Agreed.
Help them. I'm all for helping them, but to go to the front of the line while other kids went into the workforce, got a life experience being in the work, the kids that, you know,
but nobody
are
paid,
dysfunctional from
nobody
too
paid
much college.
for all of your tools. Nobody paid for all of your other machinery, your equipment. But yet you have to pay for their college.
Yep.
And in some cases, they took really stupid majors where there's no job.
Yeah.
So they come out with a piece of paper, but really, you know, some of the degrees that they have don't prepare them for the real world.
No, and their minds aren't even prepared for the fast pace of the world, the you know, how things work in the real world.
But it should never be somebody
you're 4 to 6
else's
years
job
behind
to pay for someone else's loan. I mean, soon we'll be paying other people's mortgages, I guess.
Harry, I work my butt off. You know, you don't see me. I don't go out buying super expensive clothes and things like that because I don't worry about my kids. I worry about my grandkids. And believe it or not, I worry about my great-grandkids when I'm gone. Like, that there's something for them. That, you know, when you grow up struggling and you grow up poor, you never want your family to have to experience that. You want to, like, I love working with my granddaughter when I get to, because I get to teach her from such a young age to hustle, that the money's out there for you if you put hard work in. I always give examples to kids and my own kids, and look at these kids that come from other countries. Look how hard they work. Look what they got, because they see the American dream and they've made the best of that American opportunity that was afforded to them, and that our kids have got to do the same. You know, these video games ruin our kids. I worry about the next generations and what America's becoming with what I see, especially what I see in New York. That scares the hell out of me. And like I said,
that's what we have to be ready for.
Yeah.
It's coming.
When you have people manipulating little words and trying to change your Constitution, it doesn't show how amazing our forefathers were when they wrote the Constitution. It's very difficult, as if they knew what was going to take place 240 something years later. So, you know, we are the greatest. There's a reason everybody's leaving their countries and jumping those border walls and everything, putting their lives on the line to get here. We are the greatest nation on the earth. We have the best. And we got to always remember that. We're all God's children. It don't matter what color we are, fat, skinny, male, female. Doesn't matter what sexuality you are. It's just we are all Americans. And when we start classifying things, the old heads are trying to keep it going because they made money from that stuff. These young kids don't feel that way.
You just touched on something that just is so on point. When we became hyphenated Americans instead of just Americans, because it was really just our parents' generation ago where people came to this country legally, and if they came from another country, they learned the language ahead of time or as soon as they got here, and they were looking to enjoy the American dream.
Yep.
Now what it turned into is that we're trying to become them instead of them becoming us. That's a loser.
Yeah.
You want to come to America, you came to America to be an American. Look, we all have our heritage, whether we're of Irish descent, Italian descent, whatever. You don't lose that, but we're Americans.
Yeah, and you know something, Harry? What's funny is I have a whole lot of friends that are in special operations. A lot of Navy SEAL, SEAL Team 6 members that I talk to weekly. We're always on the phone together. We stay in touch, and they're secret warriors, private warriors. They never tell their stories, and I'm always, when you see the ones that do, they are true American heroes. We need to hear I always try and get them. We need to hear your stories. I get what they put into your brains. It's a secret profession and everything else, but they are what makes us proud. They are not the football player, the basketball player. They are real heroes, and they bring pride back to our nation. We are lacking pride as a nation. The patriotism isn't there when me and you grow up, and we got to get back to that. And I always beg these guys, tell your story. Like, they're my heroes.
Yep.
I'm 15 years older than them, and everything I do, I think, what would they think of me if I did this or that? And I live my life that way, and it's been the best 15 years of my life acting like that.
Great visit, Councilman. Thank you for your leadership. Until next time.
Yes.
Keep up
Have
the
a
good
good
work.
weekend.
You do the same.
And thank you to your listening audience for all the support they've shown.
You know it. He is Councilman George Tippett. I am Hurley in the Morning. Brian Kilmeade takes you from here. Markley Van Camp, Sean Hannity, Mark Levin et al. And again, live and local tomorrow with Tom P. at 5, John DeMasi at 9, Carmen Murata at noon. I am already thrice published today on the digital platform of WPG Talk Radio 95.5. We'll see you around this weekend, no doubt. The news doesn't shut off. And back here on Monday. Stay dry. Have a great weekend. Here's Brian.